Did you ever think you would make it? I feel I'm so close I could taste sweet victory. I know this life meant for me.
Adam, what's your point? The future looks bright.
My handshake is better than anything I ever signed. It's right here.
You are a one-of-one?
My son's right about
I
it.
don't think I've ever said this before.
Okay, we have a fair warning for the audience today. Folks, we've warned Adam in advance. Whatever you do, don't ask our guests today about climate change. We've told them 50 times. I said, don't play this BS game. Because when you talk about climate change, he loses his shit. The man just came from visiting the Pope 6 weeks ago. Don't mess with him. He's in a very good place. We have the one and only, the entertaining Dan Pena in the house. Dan, great to have you on here.
My pleasure.
You look amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Appreciate
Okay.
that.
All right. So we got a lot of things to go through. There's a poll that we're going to cover today that is shocking, absolutely shocking, that CNN played, Harry Enton, that Tom was just talking to us about this a minute ago, of what demo the president has lost that's had the biggest plus minus just in the last 10 months that is very concerning. And it comes down to one topic. And on one topic is affordability, which we have to talk about. It's probably going to be the first thing we're going to be talking about. The president yesterday gave a talk. In his talk, he gave some very friendly compliments to people like Ilhan Omar, calling her dumb and stupid. Tim Walz, going after Tim Walz. Again, more compliments. MTG, not some nice stuff about MTG, I think, in an interview. He said Jerome Powell shouldn't be the Fed chair because it was auto pen that Biden signed, so he shouldn't be it. And then the things he said about immigrants. He says, why are we not getting some immigrants come in here from Sweden? We need some European immigrants. Why are we getting so many? Anyways, we'll talk about that on his speech. And then aside from that, last night, shocking event, folks, in Miami. Last night, Mayor Suarez, who's the guy famously known for that tweet when Elon Musk was not happy about what Gavin Newsom in California were doing to him and Tesla during COVID. And he comes out and asks a simple question on Twitter that blows up, and it was called, How Can I Help? And they put together one of the best business conferences Miami's ever put together, the America Business Forum. Everybody was here. Just last night, they elected a new mayor, Democrat, that won last night, replacing, obviously, Mayor Suarez did his time, but beating out the Republican, Emilio Gonzalez. And apparently, Byron Donalds tried to help this man win, DeSantis, Trump, and she won. And you know what she ran on? Affordability. So we're definitely going to be talking about that as well. On top of that, Trump greenlights NVIDIA's AI chip exports to China, touts 25% U.S. share. He calls affordability a Democrat scam. That's going to be a topic today. Diamond on Trump media debunking. People have to grow up here. That's Jamie Dimon. Trump says he will sign the one rule executive order to federalize AI regulation. Some like that. A lot of people don't. We'll talk about that. Trump threatens Mexico with a 5% tariff over the water dispute that they have. Trump struggles to persuade Americans regarding the affordability issue. Again, this goes back to this thing here. We cannot be looking past this. Maybe Dan's got a different angle that we'll talk about here today as well. 20 signs there's an affordability crisis. U.S. layoffs soar past 1.1 million in 2025, highest since the pandemic. This next one is a very technical, topic that I think it's important to some employers nowadays, and this is a Business Insider story. Being hot is now a job requirement. Mm-hmm. Not hot as in it's hot 88 degrees, but physically hot is now a job requirement, and HR is actually okay with it. I don't know how they do that.
Oh, no. Am I getting fired?
No, Tom. It's just you're a little too hot. Okay, Fed is expected to deliver third straight rate cut this week amid labor concerns. I think it's going to happen sometime today, this afternoon. Americans suddenly more optimistic slightly about the economy. That's a Forbes story. Ray Dalio says Middle East is becoming a Silicon Valley of capitalists. David Ellison promised White House sweeping changes at CNN if they allow them, Paramount, to buy up, Time Warner, which I think that comes with it. Jared Kushner Back Fund is part of the Paramount Warner Brothers bid. There's some new stories that just came out that Tom's going to be sharing with everybody. Saudi, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi want to put billions into Paramount and Warner Brothers. Why? We'll explain to you why. Tom's definitely got a breakdown on that. Mamdani Effect, Miami Realtors report 166% spike in inquiries from wealthy New York City residents. New York City luxury buyers reportedly flood Miami Beach real estate market after Mamdani's mayoral election. Home delistings, ready? Delistings surge as sellers struggle to get their price. So I put the house on the market and I'm going to delist because it's not selling. And my realtor says, it's been on the market for 320 days. Let's take it out for 2 months, put it back on as if it's only been on there for 1 month and change the price a little bit. Gen Z is obsessed with renting. Big Short Michael Burry is doubling down and defending his call for a stock market bubble and predicts a Netscape fate for OpenAI. And then we got a couple other stories that were leaked yesterday that came out. JP Morgan Lake warns of higher costs for 2026 and a few other things I will definitely get into in regards to cars. The idea of the tiny cars. I don't know if you guys have been following this tiny car story. Not Tiny Dancer. The president wants to introduce tiny cars in America, but it's a problem because it's very complicated on how to introduce these tiny cars. Rob, later on when you can pull up the tiny car stuff. But having said that, we are roughly 3 weeks away from 2026. Once a year, we host a business planning workshop. I want you to watch this video. It's this Friday. We go through a 200-page manual. If you haven't yet registered for it, this is your last chance. Watch the video. Go ahead, Rob.
Business is a lot like Jenga. Every piece matters. You need a vision. Do this carefully. Ooh. You need capital. You definitely need capital. Let's put this here. Ooh, listen, hanging on one piece here, by the way. You need the right team, for sure. You need sales. As good as this looks, if your foundation isn't built on a good business plan, you know what happens? No. The whole thing crumbles. If you have big plans for 2026, on December 12th, I'm hosting an event called the Business Planning Workshop, where all day we go through the 12 building blocks of writing an effective business plan. So this doesn't happen to you. If you haven't yet registered, click on the link below. Let's spend an entire day together on December 12th. Looking forward to seeing you there.
All right, we're going to put the link below. Go get registered. December 12th, we'll be with you guys. Bring your teams, bring your family. We'll be going through a lot of different things, especially my own plan for 2026 that I reveal in this event that we do once a year. Having said that, let's get right into it. Affordability keeps coming up, and it's annoying a lot of different people, Tom. Dan, it's just so frustrating right now, that affordability topic on what they're saying. Yesterday, the president, Harry Enton, I want to go into right off the bat, Rob. Harry Enton shows this poll on what's going on with the younger generation, okay? Trump's net approval rating from ages 18 to 29 from February to now. Go ahead, Rob.
As you know, Donald Trump put in the best performance for a Republican presidential candidate among young voters since George W. Bush did back in the early 2000s. And, you know, he started off his term, his net approval rating among voters under the age of 30 at plus 10 points. Hey, that's pretty gosh darn good. But you come over now, according to CBS News YouGov, this isn't falling into the water. This isn't going underseas. This is going into a deep, dark, black hole. Look at that, minus 46 points. That is a shift on the net approval of 56 points in the wrong direction since February. My goodness gracious, you know I love looking at these swings, looking at how the electorate changes. You rarely ever see swings.
We look at a lot of polls. We almost never see drops this big, this quickly.
Yeah.
Any sense of why? What issues may be driving it?
You know, look, we've been talking about it. You were talking about it last segment with Mr. Matt Egan. It's the economy, stupid. I mean, just take a look here. Age 18 to 29 on Trump and the economy. Back in October of 2024, who did those under the age of 30 trust? Harris or Trump? It was Trump by 10 points, according to the Marquette University Law School poll. Look at where his net approval rating is now on the economy. Minus 52 points. Very similar to what we saw in the CBS News YouGov poll in terms of his overall drop in support on the net approval rating. And this minus 52, it's just stunning. It's just stunning.
Okay.
I mean, John is here with me.
Can pause it right there. Tom, I'm going to come to you first, then I'm coming to you, Dan. Go ahead, Tom. Why do you think this is happening?
Well, Harry pointed it out well. The number one issue in the economy right now, there's actually a couple. And I'm going to leave the iceberg for last. The people are looking for higher paying jobs. They're looking for jobs where they come out of college. And I'm not talking about the kids that studied, European art history and like, gosh, what can I do with that degree? Those are the kids that are mismatched and never should have been studying those topics. I'm talking about college graduates are saying it's increasingly difficult for me to find a job, even STEM jobs. We see layoffs happening, but the number one thing is affordability. What happened under Biden, and we can talk about it all day long, the inflation was Biden's fault, and inflation is back down. Well, it is down. It's down to 3% versus 2%, so it's down. But what happened under all that inflation is cost of housing, cost of insurance, and those are the top two. Car insurance affects the youth 18-29, and housing. And they refer to this, everybody's referring to it properly, as affordability for the up-and-coming generation. So they're like, we supported you in here. Now we're looking for change, and we need to see change so that we can afford to live and we can launch our lives and careers. And that's what's happening with this group. Now, the Democrat messaging has been hammering through the media that, this is all Trump's fault, inflation is Trump's fault. So there's a lot of stick that they're getting on that. But the fact is, Trump's policies are going to make things more affordable, but it's not happening as fast as these people that are looking for housing and looking to launch their careers and lives want. And the Dems are pushing it. And the president can say it's a hoax by the Dem. It is a messaging hoax, but you have to counter it with messaging of your own and definitive things that help bring prices back down.
Dan, how do you address this?
Well, I don't like to disagree on the first topic, but my kid, when they got out of undergraduate school, my daughter took 7 months to find a job, and our son took 9 months to find a job. And they both found jobs, and it was a recessionary time in both cases, by making hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of phone calls, hundreds and hundreds of letters out, going on dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews. And the kids today, because I have a fairly large consortium, it's got almost 40 companies, and the kids go one interview and they don't even call back to find out how they did. So the elitists of that generation, in my opinion, are lazy. I mean, we don't have an affordability problem, in my opinion. All I know is when I bought my first house, and my dad bought his first house that we couldn't afford, he went out and worked overtime. He got another job. The kids don't want to have another job. They expect right out of school to make all kinds of crazy money, six-figure money, and they have no experience whatsoever. So the affordability to me is a matter of choice. They're not looking hard enough and not working hard enough to get a job.
Now, what do you think when you see a plus minus 62 points, right, with 18-29, and let's just say the president comes up to you and says, you guys are having dinner. It's just the two of you. And he says, Dan, what do you think we focus on to fix with affordability? What would you say?
Well, we sent the wrong message. Okay, I believe that the Democrats, and I don't believe that they do much right, but this particular case, they're doing the messaging better than we are. And so we have to up our game in messaging. And I don't know who's advising the president on giving this message, but he's got to change, and he's got to change. Full disclosure, I knew the president in another lifetime, and he's not quick on change. He's quicker now than he used to be, and he likes to be right. As we all at this table know, he likes to be right, and he abhors people that tell him he's not right.
Okay, so messaging would be one issue. Got it. In regards to the kids, you said your kids, one of them took 7 months to get a job. The other one took 9 months to get a job. A little bit more persistent. Maybe that's a good message for the younger audience. But some of the folks may say the following. They may say, and Brand, I'm going to come to you with this one and see what you think about this. Last night, the mayor of Miami, who has been Francis Suarez for the last, 8, 12 years. I don't know how long he's been there. He's been there for quite some time. And his father was also the previous mayor of Miami for another 8 or 12 year Javier, if I'm not mistaken, right? And he famously tweeted at Elon, how can I help? Elon responds back, hey, let's bring jobs to Miami, Francis saying. But last night, the mayor who won last night, beating Emilio Gonzalez, the conservative, was a Democrat named Eileen Higgins, okay? She won last night in Miami, a member of the Democratic Party. She previously served as a member of the Miami-Dade County Commission from 2018 to 2025. Higgins ran in 2025 and defeated a Republican candidate Emilio Gonzalez in a runoff, making her the first woman ever and the first Democrat since 1997 to be elected. We're talking 30 years, right? So you got Miami, just from a conservative mayor to a liberal mayor, first time in 30 years. You got New York, goes from a liberal mayor, Adams, to a Democratic Socialist mayor, Mamdani. Two big markets that we're talking about. Brandon, you just turned 30.
Yep.
When you see this happen, and you're a guy, you got bachelor's and master's in national security. You went into school the right way, and then shifted, not wanting to go into national security.
Yep.
You wanted to get into business. What do you think is going on here? You think, is it messaging? Is it actual issues? Is it actual things that's bothering that younger audience that's sitting there wanting to get their life started and saying, hey, man, we got to do something about this? What do you think is going on?
Yeah, I have to agree and disagree with you, Dan. So first of all, the job thing, yeah, I agree. You have to viciously attack that issue. You have to, apply like crazy. I did a lot of crazy things to get here, and I could tell that story. But when it comes to affordability, like it's just an objective fact that it's a much different situation than it was when you were, say, my age. Because the cost of living, like think about how much money we added to the economy just in the last 5 years alone. Like we doubled the size of the money supply. So we always talk about how it took like 2 years of an average salary to buy an average price house in the 70s. Today, it takes like 9 years of an average salary to buy an average priced house. So I know they're like exceptional people are going to make it happen no matter what, but it's like the Pareto principle. 20% of people are like above average and 80% of people are kind of just average people. And when those people can't get by with like just food, housing, and energy, those basic things, that's when you risk socialism. Because like I think the real pillar of a society, like the foundation of a society is a strong middle class. And if you don't have a strong middle class, then you start to have these like socialist tendencies. So that's why I think we're seeing what we're seeing in New York and Miami. And I don't think Trump is handling it well because he's kind of gaslighting by saying that the issue doesn't exist. Like it is a fact that it takes more than half of an average salary to pay for like the basic essential things to live. And that's not a good situation.
Well, I'm not aware that it costs half. That's 50 years ago for me. I just turned 80.
Yeah.
I'm not using that as an excuse, but the numbers, every generation has a reason why they're not happy with where they are economically. Going back to 1900, and the fact that Trump is 1 year younger than I am, and a lot of the people that advise him are almost his age. It's a different reality. It's like it's surreal. And he's got his Kushner, who appears to be a very bright guy, but he's a billionaire. I mean, these guys that are advising him aren't 30 years old, struggling to find jobs.
Point. Mm-hmm. It's a very good point you're making.
And Lutnick, too, the commerce.
But do you understand what point? I really like the point that you're making because sometimes, you'll have people around you, around your age, and if you're not paying attention to what is going on with that generation, you're not in communication with them. Like even if he speaks to his son Barron, he's not the guy to speak to.
Right.
And by the way, this is why I believe the Turning Point USA audience is very, very important because they're the ones that are the 18, 19, 20-year-olds coming up that are going to school, that are seeing the issues, that are about to get married, that are wanting to buy a house, that are wanting to have kids, that are like, listen, I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I think TPUSA could do a great job right now with their audience on running a survey with their audience of the 16 to 29, 18 to 29, and asking them questions to get some intel back from that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that's the audience they need to hear on what they're going through to be able to figure this part out. And again, this is a big, no matter what anybody says, if Charlie Kirk was here right now speaking to his younger audience, what message would he be giving to them right now, to his Turning Point USA audience? Adam, where are you at with this? Because you're a Miami guy. You've been here your entire life, minus the 1 year when you lived in your dream destination, Addison, Texas, with the beaches there.
Well,
what do you think is going on here?
I'm with Dan
Miami?
Pena on this. I think we have to stop focusing on the Oval Office and look in the mirror and fix your life. Trump's not going to fix your life. Biden wasn't going to fix your life. Obama, the list goes on. You have to fix your life. Everyone's complaining about affordability. Well, you know where it's pretty much affordable? Outside of every single major city in America. It's called supply and demand. So yes, if you're going to move to New York City, yes, if you're going to move to Boston, yes, if you're going to use the LA, San Francisco, Miami, #1 city in the world at this point, yeah, things are going to be a little bit more expensive because everyone's trying to move there. Nobody's trying to move to Bumble F or to Des Moines, Iowa. Everyone wants to move to the best cities in the world. That's like everyone wants to date the hottest chicks. All girls want to date the richest guys. Everyone lives in the best cities. So Miami, just under Mayor Francis Suarez, just became, in my opinion, the number one city in America, if not the number one city in the world. You're in America, you're in Miami, LA's in decline, San Francisco's in decline, New York's in decline, Miami's on the rise, Dallas is on the rise, certain southern cities on the rise. Listen, if life is unaffordable and you're young, get a roommate. There's no guarantee that, oh, I'm an American, I get a house. That's BS. So you may not be able to afford a house. Cool, rent, have a roommate. So the affordability thing, like Tom mentioned, it's the economy, stupid James Carville. It's always the economy. It's always
I'm with that,
pocket
Adam.
issues.
Here's what I want you to think about. Tom, I'm going to come to you next. So here's first, Rob, if you want to play the clip of Trump reacting to affordability, and I'm going to come back to you, Adam. If you can play this clip, go for it.
Affordability is a con job by the Democrats. They say affordable. I watched the other day where some very low IQ congresswoman talked about affordability. She had no idea. Their prices were much higher. The word affordability is a Democrat scam.
Okay, so that's the clip that he's talking about. And then is this the talk yesterday, Rob, or go ahead.
You know, and I said it the other day, and a lot of people misinterpreted. They say, oh, he doesn't realize prices are high. Prices are coming down very substantially. But they have a new word. You know, they always have a hoax. The new word is affordability. So they look at the camera and they say, this election is all about affordability. Now, they never talk about it. They never talk. Thank you very much. They say I'm not allowed to run. I don't know what the hell that's all about, but that's okay. He said 4 more years. You see the new hat? We have 4 more years.
By the way, while he's saying this, gas prices dropped to the lowest in December 2025. And the last time they were this low, which is around $3 right now, December 2025, was 4 years ago when Trump was president in 2021. That's gas prices, right? Mm-hmm. But what I want you to think about is what he just said right now a minute ago. Dan said affordability could be a messaging issue. And then the other part also Dan said, which is you may need some of the younger audience around you to get a pulse and see what they're going on. What is it right now, national average gas price?
$2.94.
Rob, can you go a year ago to see what the national average was exactly a year ago of where was that? But this is what I want you to think. Mm-hmm. Okay, so give me actual ideas. Because the part about the house, it took 3.5 times your salary to buy a house 40, 50 years ago. It takes 8.5 times your salary today to buy a house. That's a real number, okay? So people
say those numbers again.
Okay, it took around 3.5 times your salary to buy a house 50-ish years ago.
Okay.
So you're making $20,000 a year. You could buy a house for $70,000. That's 3.5 times. Today it's taking 7.5 to 8.5 times salary. You're making $70,000 a year. Do the math. You know, 450, whatever you want to put there, right? 560. So those are real numbers. Car prices in America.
Sky high.
You know, it was first time $50,000 the average car price, right? But then the income is not going up at the same levels.
Right.
What do you do? Trump asks you just purely, cameras off, you're just talking. What do you think we can actually do? Not messaging. What do you think we can actually do to address a few things?
So as far as the individual economy or the affordability?
I want to find a way to make things a little bit more affordable for 18 to 29-year-olds. Give me specific feedback. What do you say?
Listen, since COVID, the game has changed permanently with AI, technology. We're not playing by grandpa's old rules. I say this all the time. The days of I get a job, I go to college, get a job, get out of the workforce, work for the same company for 40 years, get my gold watch, retire, live on the system. I live till 65 and retire. So that is so out the window. It's an outdated, antiquated approach. People are living longer. Affordability is an issue, but affordability has been an issue when the dot-com bust. Affordability was an issue right after I graduated college, 2008.
That's not what I'm asking you. No, don't give me greatest hits. What I'm asking you, if you don't have it, I'm going to go to Tom.
I'm telling you right now.
Give me the ideas.
The ideas is you have to change your own system.
No, that's not what I want to hear.
You're not going to buy a house.
That's not what I want to hear.
That's the problem.
That's not what I want to hear.
We still think that you're going to buy a house.
So then
rent
I'm going
to
come to you, Tom.
You're not.
Okay? I'm not asking you that. I understand what you're saying. Everybody in this room is self-sufficient. Everybody, this is not this room that we're talking about. Everybody in this room gets up, pays their bills, takes care of their family, takes care of all the stuff that they need to do. We find ways to improve ourselves. This is not this. You just saw a plus minus of 62 points. Tom, He asks you, you can be an analytical thinker. What 1, 2, 3 steps do you give to do things with this?
I'll give you 3 steps. But first, I'll give you the one simple stat. From the day he was inaugurated, Biden, 2021, January of 21, to the day Trump was inaugurated, January of 25, the rents in Miami went up 38% in those 4 years. And that is from numbers from the Miami-Dade Commission. So this is self-reported by a Democrat group who probably is rounding it down a little bit. I saw numbers that said it was really closer to 60% with young professionals that were making $75,000 to $80,000 a year, professional job, coming to Miami, looking for a place to rent, not a white picket fence, not to do all that. So in other words, we have incredible cost, and they have insurance. That's real. So don't use the word affordable. Just say, how do we bring down insurance cost and find affordable housing for people that want to make Miami great, a financial analyst, and wants to earn $80,000 to move down here, Pat? Here's what we need. We need very active engagement to reduce the red tape and regulation on builders. And we need the city to open up. There is city land that is sitting in previous industrial areas that is still owned by the city that was long-term leases and stuff. They need to release some of that land. So we saw in Dallas how they built Central Town Frisco. A lot of apartments and a lot of nice areas for people who are going to work there. We saw Central Town, downtown Dallas. We saw the Central Town in Addison. Remember those, Pat?
Of course.
These were planned areas where someone like you, making $75,000, $80,000 a year, getting the start and living in good, safe, affordable housing. And yes, it is going to be more expensive then. So I think my number one point, Pat, is the city has to take an active engagement with the entrepreneurs that are building affordable housing, number one. And number two, the state insurance commissioner needs to get their act together, because the regulations, restrictions you put on insurance companies causes too many to leave, and then there's not enough insurance and the price goes up, people. So I need the state on insurance. I need the city on building permits, and I need them to start talking about that so that people can hear, oh, someone's out there. And by the way, if there's more units out there, then the relative rents are going to come down thanks to supply. That's what I would be pushing on if I was mayor, because those stats are real.
So why don't we think about this? Okay, when we are in our, and Brandon, you could go to this one as well, but I'll come to you first. Dan. So let's think about our top expenses when you're 25 years old to 30 years old. It's going to be rent or car payment, right? Would you put anything above that? It's probably going to be rent.
Are you married?
You're not married yet. 25.
Oh,
Let's just say
okay.
not married.
Housing, transportation, and then food and beverage.
Yeah.
Okay, so
in that order.
Would you say in that order? Housing,
correct. Housing is number one, 33% of
and then food
overall
is third.
budget.
Yeah.
Then
Okay,
transportation,
so
yes.
address each. So if you got housing, how do we address it?
Build the
car, how do you address it? So Tom just said housing, incentivize, which we've talked about, builders to build smaller homes, because we're no longer building starter homes, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. You've talked about this many, many times. It's now we're building 4-bedroom homes. We've seen the charts how it's declined from 45% to now 10-15% of homes we're building are 2-3-bedroom homes, right? It's all 4-bedroom, because for many different reasons, right?
Yeah.
But think, what do we do with housing? What do we do with car? And then what do we do with food?
Housing is a 3 to 5 year, what he suggested, and I agree with him. It's 3 to 5 years. You got to change the zoning. Did that happen? And the councils, et cetera, have to vote on it. The people have to land bank. The builders are going to have to go out and get land and do the planning and get all that approved. That's 3 to 5 years before
Fast permitting.
Yes, exactly. It's before you put one shovel in the dirt. We need a problem to be solved yesterday. Not 3 to 5 years.
How do you do that, though, Dan? That's not easy to do.
No. But the guy that won in New York City,
Mamdani.
Exactly. He pretends like his system or the socialistic system can do that, but it can't. It's just as slow, if not slower.
You know, every time you see when the economy is bad for the younger audience, the memberships and communism goes up. Membership for communism and socialism goes up. And you'll always see it. You're like, okay, it kind of goes. Like, you remember after the Great Depression? You should see the memberships into the Communistic Party after the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, it was skyrocketing because the messaging was what? The rich people are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. If you vote communism, the government's going to take care of you and they're going to give this. And that's kind of like the younger kids that just came out of college that have been brainwashed for 4 years by economists and professors who are on the liberal side and are part of pro-union. They're like, yeah, the rich people are the reason why you're poor and the reason why you don't have a job. I hate rich people. Movies like Joker comes out where the Joker kills the rich guy in the movie, and these are the bad people. And then you see Luigi Mangione, boom, let me go take out this insurance guy because of what they're doing. And so temperature all of a sudden elevates, right? The one thing that I like, are you following this tiny car thing closely? Are you following that closely, Tom, on what's going on with the tiny car? So can you pull up the tiny car Trump idea? So here's a couple challenges that we have. If you just go back and type in tiny car and go to news. Go to tiny car, Trump tiny car news. Pick one of them of what they're doing. Trump's tiny car dream. Okay, next one, if you don't mind going, Rob. Third one says Trump's tiny car dream has problems. Okay, so what are the problems? You see that Japanese Kai cars that he's talking about? If you pull that up.
What do they look like? Yeah.
Forget about what they look like. Honestly, when you're younger, you don't really care about what they look like. You're trying to find the thing that you can afford, right? Like even what you want and what you can afford are two different things. Look what happened with car regulation in America, okay? During the 70s, gas prices 3x'd in a decade. During the 70s. Gas went from 30 cents to $1 in a decade. Who gets elected next? Reagan. Reagan comes out with something called the CAFE. Rob, can you type in Reagan CAFE cars, okay? The regulation, which stands for Corporate Average Fuel Economy under Reagan, that he came out with this, issues on how to address this. So then there was a couple different things that we looked at during that time. This led to, through 2008, 2011, 2012, they came out with new emission standards that the bigger the car was, the easier it was for your car to get approved on the emission standards that we had. So think about this, Adam. I don't know if you have this chart or not, Rob. If you don't have it, I'll send it to you. Here, check this out. Just show this here, and let me send you Trump's tweet on tiny cars. This is so interesting for all of us to be looking at, because I think this is at least something that they're doing. Let me know when you got it. All the three ones. One of them is his tweet, and then it's the pictures of the emission standard cars and how ridiculous it is what we've done to the market with cars. We have incentivized companies to build bigger cars. He wants to introduce an 11-foot car. Now, an 11-foot car, a small sedan right now is 12.5 to 13.5 feet, okay? Then you have trucks that go from 13.5 to 16.5 feet. And then you have the SUVs that go 18.5. And you have the bigger trucks that can go all the way up to 22 feet. A truck can go all the way up to 22 feet. And they do this because car companies like Ford are sitting there saying, hey, man, this is allowing us to build bigger cars. Bigger cars allow us to go with lower standard emissions that we have in place. And we're making a shit ton of money. And you know where we are right now? 75% of registrations of cars today, Dan, are either SUVs or trucks. 75% of cars being registered in 2024 are SUVs or trucks. Guess who's making all the money? Yeah. The automatic. They're like, hell yeah, let's keep doing this, right? Now watch this. That one right there, Rob, if you can make that one bigger. So check this out. 2025, go back to that one, right? 2025 standard on the vehicle footprint. The bigger the car, you see the footprint up top and a miles per gallon. Yeah. The smaller the car, the more miles per gallon it needs to have. But the bigger the car, the less mile per gallon needs to have that it gets approved. So they're sitting there saying, here's what we're going to be doing. So Ford's going to say, guys, keep doing this because we're selling cars and car prices are going to $50,000. We're making a ton of money selling these trucks. And then Trump comes out with this saying, I have just approved tiny cars to be built in America. Manufacturers have long wanted to do this, just like they are successfully built in other countries. They can be propelled by gasoline, electric, or hybrid. These cars of the very near future are inexpensive, safe, fuel efficient, and quite simply amazing. Start building them now. Thank you to DOJ. Okay, this was inspired by a car called the Topolino, the Fiat Topolino. I don't know if you've seen the Fiat Topolino, which it's the name of the car. It is 8.5 feet, and it gives you, fastest it goes is 28 miles an hour, and it's 50 miles range is what it has. but it's cheap, okay? And so then the argument on why these things they're not fans of, the other argument on the regulation is America has the widest lanes. Because we had so many accidents that was taking place. Because in Europe, cars go like this because their lanes are very tight. If you notice the roads in Europe, you go to Italy. The other day, I'm in Italy driving a car. I got stuck. I was late 45 minutes. Do you remember this time? I was late 45 minutes. These guys are waiting for me. I'm like, I don't know how to get out of this. I'm literally in a car.
We're just driving. We didn't do anything crazy.
Escalades. And they're like, this is the dumbest thing to do in Italy when you rent Escalades. And we're in a road. I'm like, Vinny, how do I get out of this? Vinny has to get out of the car and come back, do this. We're doing all the old school Middle Eastern style.
But there was no edge to the pavement.
Zero.
It wasn't.
But that's why they build cars like this. In America, they build wider lanes, fewer accidents. They saw the range of doing that. So to me, this could be a major opportunity for some automakers to come out and say, I'm going to build the tiny cars. I'm going to build the starter cars. Maybe we go back to a $10,000 car, $15,000 car new, $5,000 car used. Some of these cars looking like this, by the way, Rob, if you want to make it bigger. I don't know. I think it has to be something to do with homes where they live, rent a house, something to do with cars, and I'm glad he's going there. But there needs to be actual solutions of what to do. What do you say about this, Brandon?
Yeah, the common theme in all of them is regulation, because I didn't know about the EPA thing right there. That's interesting because, with homes, it's like zoning laws. They say add an extra 20, 30% of the price of a house. And then with that, that's obviously jacking up the price of it. So like the solution to it is to make it more feasible to build more of it, make it create circumstances in which it's profitable for the producers to build more of it, and then the price will come down. But they've put policies in place that make it more expensive to build things. Like there's no reason that lumber and steel and electronics, all the inputs of cars and houses cost more than they ever did before. That's a policy driven outcome. So if we get the policies to make those things cheaper, then they could build more of them, then it'll be okay.
I'm going to come to you with this one, Dan, because a part of these new emission standards that Biden was pitching, that by 2035, they want to get to certain levels and they want to lower gas-powered cars and they want to increase, hybrid, driven cars. And that model is kind of, these regulations are preventing people from building cheaper cars because the regulation is tighter. And some of it has to do with climate change. And I know how you feel about climate change. What do you say about this?
Let me just go back a second. So far, none of you have talked about the higher death rate in these cars. And there was a study in the UK 4 or 5 years ago that you had a less than 50% chance of surviving a head-on accident in these little things. And so a lot of the countries, especially Germany, who used to build tanks, backed off it. And so environmentally, the gig is that right now, the American Petroleum Institute says we have, let's say 15 trillion barrels of reserves around the world, okay? And that's probably off by a factor of at least 3 to 5, because countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like Kuwait, because I had a 10-year relationship with, Venezuela, all don't cheat the numbers, but they downplay the numbers, okay? The Aramco, which is Saudi Arabia basically, tried to go public for 25 years and couldn't go public. They went to NASDAQ, they went New York Stock Exchange, Hong Kong, Beijing, etc. Nobody would take them public because to go public, they had to have a reserve report, meaning they have to have, by Ryder Scott or one of the big engineering companies, to say how much oil you really have, how much is proved producing oil. They wouldn't produce those numbers. So finally, Saudi, the kingdom, decided, well, we'll go public in Saudi. So we'll take it ourselves. Nobody participated. So they made all government employees mandatory that they had to buy 50 shares or 350 shares out of their own paychecks to get it away. And so they only sold or took 2 or 3% of Aramco public, and they had more than $1 trillion valuation. If you knew, this audience knew, how many barrels of oil reserves were really in the world, in my estimation, oil would be 5 cents a barrel.
That's a great
point. Because there's 10, 20, 30 times more oil reserves, and they keep coming up with secondary and tertiary methodologies to extract the oil. For example, the North Sea, Bob Dyke, who was my partner when I went public many years ago, he founded the North Sea in Argyll in '79. And he said this is going to, at that time, it was only supposed to last 20 years. So by the year from '79 to 2000, North Sea should be done. Well, the North Sea still got 50, 60, 70 years left because of all the oil reserves that are still there.
Great point.
Okay, and so, but those cars, you wouldn't want maybe I normally say you wouldn't want your wife driving that car. Maybe you would, but maybe.
So listen, my wife and I are having problems. Buy her a Topolino car. It'll be fixed within 6 months.
That's right. You have an SUV. She has a little car.
No,
my God, I don't want to see those accidents. I do not want to see an SUV.
But this is hard for me to relate to.
I've
I've been driving Rolls's since '71, when I was a senior in college, and I've got.
You drove a Rolls as senior in college?
Yeah.
How'd you drive a Rolls in senior
It
in
was
college?
Silver Cloud was $35,000 at the time. I scraped a $3,000 because I was in sales. The other guys were driving town cars, Eldorado Cadillacs, and my sales manager, who was a biased, racist guy, a lawyer from Mississippi, said,
But you loved him.
Peanut, young boy like you ought to be able to sell everybody that walks through the door, but you got to differentiate yourself from the other salesmen. The other salesmen were driving Cadillacs and Continentals, so I went and got a Rolls, $35,700, and I've been driving Rollses ever since.
Since 1971.
Yeah.
What do you love about Rollses?
There not many people have them.
Just that.
Yeah, I'm a
Scarcity,
three Rolls family
supply
now,
and
and
demand.
have been for a long, long time. I could have flown up the airport. First thing I thought, why didn't I land here? Why do we have to drive an hour? But anyway.
Yeah, most people fly and land here. John Morgan from Morgan & Morgan was here a few days ago. He lands on the airport, and then he asks his driver, so driver, how long do we have left till we get to the office? He says, 3 minutes, sir. How the hell is that possible? Well, it's on the airport. Brandon, what do you say about this?
That's a fantastic point you bring up about the oil. And I've been meaning to show these two charts on the podcast for a while. So look at this. These are the biggest oil reserves in the world. That one's production. So I was going to show that one second. So biggest oil reserves in the world. U.S. is way down at the bottom there. But then if you go to production, U.S. is producing the most. So imagine if we got the full potential of oil production out of those largest reserves in the world. Like there's an abundance of oil that we're not using.
You got to be kidding me. So go back. So look at this. Venezuela's number one in the amount it's sitting on.
Yeah.
But production, you don't see it in the top 10. Go to the next one, Rob. Look in production.
Yeah.
They're nowhere in the top 8.
No.
So what does that mean, though? What does that
They're
mean?
holding back.
You need
Why
a
are they
working
holding
power
back?
plant to run a refinery.
But Dan, is it holding back, or is it because the U.S. has put sanctions on Venezuela?
Both.
Which one's a bigger pressure point?
Well, the sanctions just started. So Venezuela's been doing this for 30 years. So the sanctions just started.
Why would they hold on to it, though? Why do they hold them back?
Because they know that someday, irrespective of what Elon Musk says, someday that oil is going to be worth its weight in gold, pun intended. But the big money, the guys like you, they're investing in water. That much water will cost more than a barrel of oil 15, 20 years from now. The big money, this is what they're investing in. I know not what this podcast is about, but I mean, and it's proved producing reserves are the ones that they normally use. But in Saudi Arabia, it costs about $1.40 to get a barrel of oil from under the ground to the surface.
$1.40.
$1.40. Call it $2. Call it $2.
Okay.
And East Texas, it costs about $50. In the Gulf of America, formerly the Gulf of Mexico, it costs about $120. In the North Sea, it costs about $200. And it's $1.40.
How is that possible?
Because you can pick up the oil with your hand. When J. Paul Getty founded oil in Saudi Arabia back in the late 20s, early 30s, he was looking for water. And there's this ugly black shit that kept coming out, the Bedouins out there. What is this stuff? And then he got rich, and then he wouldn't pay ransom for his kid or grandson. I can't remember.
Nothing. He wouldn't pay.
And he told
$1 million each.
They sent him back with one ear eventually.
Yeah. And then he told him, I got 11 more grandkids. So you got a lot of people to cut their ears off of, was his comment.
Savage.
Yeah. He had a payphone in his house.
And quick thing on that too, and tell me if you would agree with this. I think the scariest thing in the world for oil companies is oil going below $60 a barrel. So I think that the oil,
65 is where they make money in U.S.
Yeah, 65 to 80 is their comfort zone. So I think they have a vested interest too in withholding that oil and not opening up Venezuela's oil.
I got something for you, Ben.
Go ahead.
Well, you compare United States to Saudi, it's not even close in terms of production. Texas actually is a bigger economy, produces more oil than Saudi. And Saudi is known, Saudi Aramco, $2 trillion market cap? Texas is bigger than Saudi. So people, Saudi, all these countries that are producing oil, America is the biggest top G on the block. Regarding tiny cars, my opinion is The average American dude does not want a tiny car. The average American person should not get a 50-year mortgage. Just because Trump throws things out there, it's bombastic. It's a big, beautiful bill. There's going to be recalibration. There's going to be negotiation. Listen, if you're Jean-Claude in Paris, go get yourself a tiny car. If you're Giuseppe in Italy, go get yourself a tiny car. If you're in America and your name's Rick, you want a Ford F-150. You're not driving these tiny cars. I used to drive these little tiny cars around Miami. Before Uber hit Miami in 2012, 2013, right around that time, 2014, Miami dropped off, I think, 1,000 of these cars all over the city. And you would tap it when you would go in, and you'd use it for 5 minutes at a time. You do not want to drive these cars on the highway. Talk about accidents. You drive it to Miami to Lincoln Road, whatever. You leave it on the side of the road. It's kind of like just renting a bike, but it's a little tiny car. Do not get a car like this if you actually want to get laid.
Yeah,
now I had a girl at the time, so it wasn't a big deal.
Guys
I knew
the
I'll
average
come
guy
back
does
to
not
that.
want this car.
So you're saying there's no room to jump into the non-existent back seat?
There's no back seat.
Okay,
exactly.
But don't guys still get cars
so there's the
as
standard.
chick magnets?
Tom,
What's
let me
that?
hear what
Don't
Dan
they-
has to say. Go ahead,
Don't
Dan.
you still want a car as a chick magnet?
Yeah, some
even
guys
the
do.
new generation?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I didn't even think about the backseat angle, but
You always think about the back seat, okay, Dan?
there's plenty of room in the rolls.
You're not going to have a hard time with that.
Gentlemen, go get yourself a Rolls. Follow Dan Pena's advice.
By the way, this transitions into the next story I want to get into, which is the president talking about immigration in his speech. And he asks a question. He says, why are we getting so many immigrants? Rob, you know which clip I'm talking about? The one where he says, let's get some immigrants coming here from Sweden, okay? Let's get some immigrants coming from Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I agree.
Why are we getting some, folks that are coming here from, I'll just let him tell you for here's the president. Go for it.
I've also announced a permanent pause on third world migration, including from hellholes like Afghanistan, Haiti, Somalia, and many other countries. I didn't say shithole, you did. Remember I said that to the senators they came in? The Democrats. They wanted to be bipartisan. So they came in and they said, this is totally off the record. Nothing mentioned here. We want to be honest because our country was going to hell. And we had a meeting. And I say, why is it we only take people from shithole countries? Right? Why can't we have some people from Norway, Sweden, just a few? Let us have a few. From Denmark, do you mind sending us a few people? Send us some nice people, do you mind? But we always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster, right? Filthy, dirty, disgusting, ridden with crime. The only thing they're good at is going after ships. But they don't go after our ships. You know why? Because that same missile that knocks the crap out of them, that with the drug dealers from Venezuela and others.
I like the guy in the back. Persians for Trump. Gotta love it. So what do you think about what he's saying here? Why are we getting folks from Somalia, Afghanistan, what we're not getting from Norway?
Sweden and those countries, it's from the womb to the tomb. They take care of you. I mean, they don't have a lot of the problems that the people that are from Memphis, Tennessee, or Chicago, Illinois, because from the time you're born, you're part of the system, and you stay the part of the system till they bury you. And they always nobody's starving to death.
So why would they leave? Why would they come here? They don't want to come here. They like their homeland.
Exactly.
And by the way, I think that's what the lady screamed in the background, right? Because she said it's because they love where they're at. I think that's what she said in the background. Tom, what do you think about the speech here on what he's saying about shutting down from certain countries and then the comments about why we're not getting people from certain countries?
Well, if you like your homeland, you can keep your homeland. I'm going to make sure of it. It's sort of things that we saw in Southern California, where we saw Mexican people who had immigrated legally that were in some of those northern states where the cartels were such a horrible influence. And so they literally want to leave a country that is horrible. And they would come to the United States legally. And we used to see in Southern California, those people saying, I came here for opportunity, I came here legally, and every time I turn around, people think I'm here illegally, and, but they wanted to come here. The guy yesterday, the Vietnamese guy that was in the car, demonstrating that not only did he learn to speak in English, boy, he learned how to swear really well in English, is he was pointing out that he came here from Vietnam and he learned the language and they built a business. And sure, he lived in a neighborhood with other people from Vietnam, but he came here to be an American, to live in America, because what he was leaving is a country that had a lot of problems. And this is the statement that is on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, right on it. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse from your teeming shores. I memorized that when I was in school because the message was, hey, we've got something better for you if you want to come here legally. But when the Democrats turn us into refugee central, that's where all of America draws the line and says, wait a minute, these aren't families and good people wanting to come for opportunity. You're just opening up the doors and we are going to become the city dump for all the people that are coming over here. And there are bad apples in that lot. And that's where it begins and ends for me. And I'll defend those Mexican people in LA who would have people say things to them. And I'd say, hey, dude, that family came here legally. Do you know their story? Get off their back. You know, you're perceiving, oh, are you Mexican? Hey, when did you walk across? No. There are good people that came. There was also a lot of bad people that just came across when the Dems opened the doors to refugee status. And it's the refugees we don't want. It's the honest people that want to come here for opportunity that we welcome.
Adam.
Well, to me, it's a culture issue. So not all immigrants are exactly the same. Listen, we're all children of immigrants. We're all moved here from somewhere. Your family came from Iran. I know you live in Scotland now, right?
Yeah, but my family's from Mexico.
Your family's Mexican. Brandon, you're Italian of some capacity. Tom is Canadian, European. My family's Russian, Ashkenazi Jewish. But not all agreements are the same. The biggest issue is not so much, he named a couple countries. For instance, he said Afghanistan. There's a culture issue between Afghanistan and the United States. I'm sorry. Major culture issue in Somalia. Difference is, you have Cuba, you have Haiti. I grew up in Miami. Half my friends are Cuban, Haitian, Jamaican, Venezuelan. There isn't a massive cultural difference. There's still the same framework of religion, culture, family, society, values. Not that people from that side of the world in the Middle East don't have the same culture, but let's be real here. If your country runs on Sharia law, it's not going to work in America. If you're in Cuban, the biggest issue I have with my Cuban friends in Miami, I've said this before, there are people who've been here 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Habla no inglés. You're telling me you've been here 30 years. You speak zero English. Pedro, tú necesitas aprender inglés. But if you just want to be broke and Cuban or Haitian and never learn English in Miami, you can do that. But we don't worry about these people. They're working, they're doing whatever. They're not trying to dismantle America like a lot of the Islamist culture that comes into America. Yeah, you speak English.
How often do you go to UK? How familiar with what's going on in UK?
Well,
right
I live there.
Scotland,
Yeah.
So you're there, is it like 9 months out of the year, 10 months out of the year?
I travel 3.5 months and I'm there the rest of the time.
Okay. So what have you noticed happened there with specifically, because I just saw something that said you've lived in Scotland since 84, right? Or 84 when you bought I think the castle that you have in Scotland.
Correct.
Yes. What have you noticed happen to UK, London, from 84 till today?
Well, let's go back to the 70s. And first, the Russian money, 70s and 80s, the Russian money propped up property prices, triple, quadruple. Mayfair, what most people don't know is property prices in Mayfair have gone down 21 of the last 25 quarters. Nobody puts it in the newspaper because it'll be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Mm-hmm. After the Russians, then came the Saudis. The Saudis, they would buy a Mercedes, and if it ran out of gas, they left it on the road. They go buy another Mercedes. Okay, and so they propped up prices. The same in Beverly Hills, California, as is my estates. The guys that are around me that have been there 700, 800, 900 years. Their properties, some of them cashed out and retired. They never, even though the property's been in their family 500 years. When a Russian or an oligarch comes in, offers you 10, 20, 40 times what it's worth, Fine. You want the furniture, the napkins, the pictures.
Take it. I'll leave my wife here if you want.
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen that.
She's in the small car.
I've seen that. And I've also seen that the liberalization, now we have about 2/3 of the police that we used to have, we have now.
2/3 of the police you used to have.
We used to have. We used to have
less police, you mean?
A third less.
A third less.
Yeah.
A third less.
Okay.
And the cops there, if you watch, they make fun of them sometimes. They go viral. 4 or 5 cops trying to arrest 2 immigrants. Okay? And you can't hit them. You can't do this. You can't do that. You go to Germany. You go to France. Boom, boom, boom. It's the old.
Not in UK.
No, not in the UK. You have to really do something awful. And in Parliament, which is archaic, I'm a UK citizen and a US citizen. Parliament should have been done away with 200-300 years ago. It's an old system, but they like the pomp and circumstance. But that's a reason for 30% of the people that visit the UK is for that pomp and circumstance. The changing of the guards, under the old Queen and now the current King. It's deteriorated. Before the 50 to 75 billion pounds a year that it used to cost to support the royal family wasn't even thought about. Now the budget is down to around 20 million pounds, which is still a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But if you go to Buckingham Palace, last time Sally and I were there, not being braggadocious, it looks worn out. I mean, it's like, when you see a carpet that's been walked down 40 million times, that's what it looks like, okay?
At Buckingham Palace.
Buckingham Palace, correct. And the king doesn't want to live there. He lives in another house down the street, which we would consider a palace, but it's not a palace to them. The only thing that they keep new are cars, because Rolls gives them the cars. They're not buying those cars.
Makes sense.
Okay, and so I've seen a deterioration. But our daughter was born there. Our 2 sons started their education there. And when I went there in '81 and I bought in '84, for somebody that was, for me, it was like Pandora's box. A young, aggressive guy. I just made hay while the sun shined. And now it's less that way, but it's still it's a foothold for Europe. And when I first went there, the wall had already come down. But remembering back, when I was a young Army officer, they had an Iron Curtain, okay? And East Germany, who got liberated supposedly, and West Germany merged with them. But Europe's a different place. But there's 2 different lifestyles. If you're in Spain, Portugal, Italy, as opposed to the countries that we talked about that they take care of you from the womb to the tomb, it's like Mars and Venus, okay? And the UK is kind of in the middle. But it's a great place to visit. I'm there. It's the only house I have anymore. Not exactly a house, but it's the only place we have anymore. And it's absolutely terrific. But the business opportunities today, vis-a-vis Trump, and one of the reasons I'm still working, came out of retirement, is Trump is good for my business. Trump is good for business.
Mm-hmm. Period.
They sneeze in New York and they catch a cold in England 3 years later, okay? And so he's good for the economy. We all know that everything he does, he has a propensity, like I do, of having his hummingbird, alligator mouth overloading his hummingbird ass.
What does that mean exactly?
Pardon?
Alligator mouth?
The alligator mouth overloads his hummingbird ass.
What does that mean?
That means he sticks his foot in his mouth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We all do it from time to time.
Yeah, well, I know.
He does it at a whole different level.
Can I, great point. Can I just say one thing back to this in the story? By the way, it comes down to leadership. Trump's saying things that are shocking, inappropriate, offensive. But are they wrong? I would argue that he's saying exactly what needs to be said. If leaders in Europe started speaking like this 5, 10, 15 years ago, would Europe have this problem? I think not. The biggest problem with Europe, all their leaders are weak, feminine men. The leader with the biggest, toughest, strongest balls in Europe is a woman named Giorgia Meloni. Digest that for a second.
They'd rather be liked than effective.
Exactly. Trump is saying the quiet part out loud that everybody's thinking. Hey, do we really want these Somalians here? Do we really want this gays for Gaza protest
Do you
here?
still go to dinner in London? Do you still go to restaurants in London?
Yeah.
You do? Do you feel safe like you did 40 years ago?
Well, 40 years ago, the IRA were blowing the restaurants up. they used to have sandbags. If you were a new customer, they put you near the front door where the bombs went off. If you were an old customer, they put you in the back of the restaurant. So I've seen that transition. But for the most part, yeah, I still feel safe. Sally and I were in Dublin not too long ago, and we were in Northern Ireland not too long ago. You know, they attacked the bus still. You know, I was on a tour giving speeches, and you know, people and these little old people from Iowa sitting there. And I felt sorry for them. You know, my age, but I mean, they were peeing their pants because these people were rushing the buses and throwing themselves in front of the buses. And I kept yelling, "Run them over! Run them over!" Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So I'll tell you whose fault this is exactly. It's LBJ's fault. So nobody talks about this, but the Civil Rights Bill, like there's all these little time bombs that are hidden throughout like bills and policies in U.S. history. So they changed the quotas for immigrants that the U.S. would take in the Civil Rights Bill. Before 65, it was 85% people from Europe. After that, they flipped it, and it was 85% people outside of Europe that were allowed to immigrate to the United States. So that drastically shifted the types of immigrants we got, and that's where it all changed. That's why it's different. Same thing happened in Europe.
And he sold it to the Americans as the Great Society.
And it actually changed before that. After the Civil War, who was against having the slaves freed? The Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 82 Republican senators or whatever, 3 of which were black. And so whenever I see, and I lived in the South for a while, and whenever you hear back when they had black and white bathrooms, you hear them screaming about civil rights, but they were no friend of civil rights from the very beginning, and it was the Republicans. But now they flipped that. They flipped that somehow, and as they flipped a lot of things. But you know, unfortunately, I mean. You know, there are places in the Democrats that get they were talking about gerrymandering, switching the around. They did it under Lyndon Johnson, and they've been doing it ever since. The fact that I say we, the Republicans, because I'm a registered Republican, but there's parts of the South that you don't tell people you're a registered Republican. You just don't. When I keep thinking of my next door neighbor in Rolling Hills and Palos Verdes. She was the daughter of the Shah's doctor. Shah, okay? And you know what Shah I'm talking about, okay?
Of course.
And they always talk, they came with a T-shirt on their back, and, you know, and to live up there, you had to have a lot more than a T-shirt on their back. And then her brother came to visit one day, and how they were talking about the people that trained cars full of money and gold and antiques, and of course, the Shah's doctor left a year before the shit hit the fan.
Wow, 77, 78?
Yeah. And so she must be 75 now, because the Shah would be, 100 and something. Yeah.
He would be in his late 90s or early 100s, something like that. Yeah, very, very interesting when you're going through this to see what's taking place. Let me get to the next story here. Next story I want to go to is with what's going on with Time Warner. Who's going to buy these guys, right? Netflix offers 72. Then you get, by the way, that's a beautiful castle. Whose house is that, Rob? Did you just buy, or is that Dan Pena's castle?
That is Sir Dan Pena, to be correct.
What can you tell us about this castle? You've been there since 84?
Correct.
How many bedrooms? How many square feet? How safe do you feel there?
55,000 square feet.
55,000 square feet. And right now it's just you and your wife living there.
4 dogs and some staff. But it was given by James V of Scotland to Sir John Guthrie in 1468, the land. They got 2 million acres land along with that. When I bought it, it only had 156 acres left. And so
Were you in the market for a castle? Or
no, I was in the market. I wanted to be near the home of golf. And that's very near St. Andrews.
Scotland, yeah.
And so, and I thought I was retiring in 84. But the guy that I left to be CEO at 40 had a heart attack and dropped dead. And so the shareholders brought me back this time. But 9 years later, the shareholders threw me out. So I've been full circle.
Dan, I don't see any cars, no Rolls Royces. Maybe there's a tiny car park somewhere. I don't know. But
the car park is to the right over in the trees. It's a big.
So if it's 55,000 square feet, it's just you and your wife. What room haven't you been to for years?
The game room.
You haven't been to it,
which is up in the tower, which has got modern games that the kids play, a snooker table and stuff like that.
Got it. There you
All
go.
right, twist my arm, Dan. I'll move into the game room. It's fine. It's no
Okay,
big deal.
so we got Netflix that tries to buy Time Warner for $72. Then you got Ellison comes out with hostile takeover, $108 billion offer. David Ellison yesterday says, do you have that clip that he says he promised White House sweeping changes at CNN? I don't know if you have that clip or not, but
here he is
so
talking about his conversation with the president about the merger.
Got it. So watch this here, folks. This is David Ellison trying to buy Time Warner. Go for it.
A couple of real quick things before we wrap up. I mean, CNN, I assume you would combine the news gathering operation with CBS's if, in fact, you did own that asset?
Yeah, so look, we've been really clear since probably the last time we were here what we want to do with news. Yes. Which is we want to build a scaled news service that is basically fundamentally in the trust business, that is in the truth business, and that speaks to the 70% of Americans that are in the middle. And we believe that by doing so, that is, for us, kind of doing well while doing good. And we believe in that business model, and we believe it's essential.
And do you think the president embraces the idea of you being the owner of CNN, given his criticism, obviously, for that network in the past?
By the way, we've had great conversations with the president about this, but I think but I don't want to speak for him in any way, shape, or form.
Got it. So, Tom, what do you know about what's going on? Because he just showed me something right before we went live. What's going on here with this deal?
Well, right now, this is like an auction going back and forth. But unlike an auction where we all sit around a table and we all have a number that we hold up, and maybe we bid for a baseball card or a rare car or a piece of artwork at an auction, right now it plays out in the media and you have two bidders that are now in an auction for, Warner Brothers Discovery. On one hand, you got Paramount, which, of course, is Skydance and the Ellisons. We just heard from David Ellison. And the other side, you have Netflix. And right now, Netflix put a bid up, and the good folks, Warner Bros. Discovery, said, we like that bid. We're going to take it. We're going to work with you exclusively. And Paramount said, wait a minute. We don't think that this was a fair process, and we're not going to sue you, but we're going to say this. Attention shareholders, we're offering you $30 a share. And that's called a hostile. And then people respond to it, such as this guy, Mario Gabelli, who runs Gabelli Asset Management, $31 billion under management. This guy's a player. He's worth $2 billion, well known. He's like 82 years old, but $31 billion under management. He came out and he said, hey, I have bought a good amount of Warner Brothers Discovery that's owned by many of the people that I'm managing their money. And I have to tell you, we like the $30 a share offer, and I'm inclined to take that. And this is exactly, and then they find out, okay, how much does he own? 3.5%. Okay, well, we got 3.5% now voting for it. So now this is going to play out, and this is what the hostile does. Now you've got people saying, I'm behind the Paramount hostile offer. I want $30 a share, not the $27 a share. And now the question is Netflix going to get behind it? Then people said, here's story number 2, Pat, where are you going to get all this debt? And all of a sudden, some names popped up.
Here we go.
Jared Kushner said, I've got plenty of friends, and we've got money from Saudi funds. He didn't say PIF, but people assume it was the Saudi PIF fund. And he spoke up. Then a consortium of large institutional investors from, tell me we've heard this word, Qatar and Saudi and
Abu
Dhabi came up and said, well, we've got plenty of money and we could put it behind. So all of a sudden, it's like you're at a gang fight and 5 guys with a lot of money stand up, behind Ellison and Skydance and says, we're backing him up. 2 guys going to fight in the street, Pat. Hey, man, I'll kick your butt. Who's backing you up? And all of a sudden, these guys stand up. We're backing him up. And that's kind of what you have here. Now, you've got him, people saying, do you have the ability to do this at 31 share? That and more. So that's where we are right now. But it's very interesting. This is how the hostile takeovers work. And you got guys like Mario Gabelli going to the microphone and saying, I'll take the hostile offer. It's better for my shareholders.
Yeah, so Saudi, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi are going to put up $24 billion, which is 2x what Ellison's are putting up, $11.8 billion for the takeover. And having Kushner involved, Tom, this is almost making it. So then here's the question. You're in the Netflix boardroom. Netflix just a week ago, not even a week ago, 4 days ago, 3 days ago, they're like, this is over. We're picking it up. They came out of nowhere. They're celebrating. Yes, we're going to get all this new stuff on Netflix now from Time Warner. It's going to be a great catalog. What do you do now if you're Netflix? Who you calling? What influence do you have? Well, who's on your side? Who are you going to call that doesn't like those Abu Dhabi, Saudi, Kushner? Who you calling if you're Netflix? Or are you just saying, guys, it's over?
You got to ask yourself, if you're Netflix, how bad do we really want this asset at this point? We want it bad, but are we willing to pay this much to get it? And what was the price really going to be to us in terms of operational leverage and the interest on debt that we're going to have to pay? We want this bad, but do we want to pay that kind of a price long-term to operate it? That's the question for Netflix. As everybody has looked around, the rational eyes in the room, and I think I'm among them, have said, you know what? I kind of like Warner Brothers Discovery here with Paramount. I kind of like Netflix, which is now very huge, and I kind of like Disney, and I kind of like the three of them competing each other for the consumer. I kind of like that. I'm not sure I want Netflix to get even bigger. So, and I think I'm one of the rational guys, in my opinion.
You know what I would be looking at right now from Netflix? I'd be looking at Bob Iger, okay? Because the perfect case study is, who has done this in the past before? Or it's only one guy, and that's Iger. What did Iger do? He bought Star Wars. He bought this. He bought Marvel. He bought everybody, right? One by one, he was going around buying everybody. How did that do? Did it work out? Maybe it did work out. Maybe it's the woke stuff that didn't work out for them. But when you think about what's in the Time Warner catalog, top 3 largest library in Hollywood, okay? You got DC Universe, you got Harry Potter, you got Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Matrix, Mad Max, The Conjuring Universe, Stephen King's Library Elements, Godzilla, Lego movies, Creed. Then you have the old school stuff, The Wizard of Oz, Casablanca, Singing in the Rain, Rebel with a Cause, Ben-Hur. And then you have the HBO, because that comes with it as well, Game of Thrones, which is legendary, Sopranos, Succession, The Wire, Euphoria, True Detective, Sex and the City, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Boardwalk Empire. And then you have a couple other things. You got Real Sports, Hard Knocks, decades of award-winning documentaries that HBO has done. On top of that, you get Friends, the series. You get The Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon, ER, West Wing, Gilmore Girls, Pretty Little Liars, Supernatural, 2.5 Men. And then additional, The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, Final Destination, Nightmare on Elm Street, Rush Hour, Blade. By the way, if I keep going here, you're going to sit there and say, are you freaking kidding me? So how many chances is Netflix going to get to buy a catalog this big that they just fit into it?
Well, this is why, and this is why it's now a public hostile takeover with an open bid.
Are you saying it's done?
I don't think it's done. I think ultimately Paramount wins because they're in startup mode and they'll be more willing to take a little bit of pain and go forward. And I believe Ellison is a longer term thinker. And I just don't think that Netflix is going to be able to stomach the price. And then now you handicap this fight. Federal Trade Commission.
I think this is done, Tom, because of one comment Trump made. I think this deal is done. It's going to Paramount. I think it's done. And let me tell you what the comment was. Trump made that one comment and said, look, I had a great meeting with Ted. It was phenomenal.
Ted Sarandos.
Sarandos from Netflix.
CEOs,
yeah.
Yep.
He's a very smart guy. However, they're going to have to look into if this still can even get done because they're going to get too big, too powerful. So if I'm on the Netflix side, Netflix is sitting there saying, will they even allow us to buy it? FTC. Will Brandon Carr, is that the guy that runs FTC? Am I saying it correctly, Rob? Yep. Will they even allow this thing to happen? And is Brandon Carr going to side with us at Netflix? Or are they going to side with Ellison's? Because look what Ellison said. What did he say? He said, we want to focus on the 70% of Americans that want the truth. And they want it to be fair. Not the 30% that's looking for what? Hysteria and, whatever kind of reporting. They want to go back to that.
And who love, not like, but love hearing that.
Yeah, I think, of course they love hearing that. And you know who's probably sitting on the sidelines worried about Ellison's picking it up? A company that's been dominating for 2 decades, Fox News. Fox News, because you don't think secretly Trump would like Fox News to have competition? You don't think Trump wants Fox to have some kind of competition? Because nobody knows what's going to happen with Murdoch's kids. Nobody knows what Lachlan's going to do.
And we've seen his,
know what I'm saying?
we've seen his angle, and he ain't his dad.
What do you think about this, Dan? Do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big believer in succession never works out like you plan. Man plans, God laughs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, getting back to Murdoch, he thinks that the oldest son that is apparently the winner of the battle is going to do what he wants. He may do what he wants while he's still alive, but that doesn't mean he's going to do what he wants the old man when the old man's gone. And I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Murdoch didn't stick his thumb in this deal. But I said, if you'll remember back about 4 or 5 months ago, there was an MMA fight. President, there was Elon Musk on one side of the president and the head of the Saudi sovereign fund on the other side of the president. And they were whispering whatever they were whispering. And the future is coming from the Middle East. You know, even though I think that Dubai is Las Vegas without slot machines, they're going to have slot machines someday. And they have all the money in the world and then some. And they're not even tapping their real wealth. And the other thing is that the Middle Eastern, and after being partners with the Kuwaiti government, the Al Sabahs, for almost 10 years, they're 50, 100-year planners. They're not planning for the next quarter, you know, and they know someday in 3,000 years they're going to run out of oil, okay? Not in 30 years or 50 years. And so that's why there's been such a outflow of money, and they've been building up the Middle East so
Do you think they're
rapidly.
doing it purely, do you think, Tom, Dan, do you think they're doing it purely for investment purposes, or do you think they're doing it also to have some influence? Because I wonder what level of influence. You think that's what it is? So what give me an ideal 3 things that they would like this new media platform do as influence to highlight Saudi, to help Qatar, and to help Abu Dhabi. What does that look like?
Okay, one, like Al Jazeera, you know, and they look at whatever happens in the Middle East where they are not such a biased eye. Okay, I'm not saying it's not biased the other way, but so they're going to get positive influence around the world in the media, and they need that. The next generation of the Middle Eastern managers, when you get outside the top 2 or 3 guys, are young guys. Someday they say there's going to be a young gal there, but I don't believe that. They're young guys, and so they think very much like this young man does about things differently than we think, or at least my generation thinks. So they're going to get a different flavor, and they need that going forward. But they're not concerned what happens in the next 50 years. They're concerned what's going to happen in the next 100 years. And right now, there's no U.S. investor that I'm aware of that is concerned about the next 100 years. They're concerned about the next quarter.
Do you think it's investment, or do you think it's influence? If they're going to be, 12 billion, of the 24 billion, they're kicking in 12 billion, and they're kicking in 24 billion, and Ellison's family is putting in 11.8 billion. Do you think they're going to be having some sort of influence? Hey, we want you to make us look better. We want you to make us look grander.
You're talking about the Middle East perspective?
Middle East, Saudi, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. Or do you think it's just a check?
There's an article here about how Ray Dalio says the Middle East is becoming the Silicon Valley of capitalists, which I wanted to discuss. So you asked the question, is it business? Is it marketing? What was the question?
And look, there's certain, like the other day, I bought into this company that we talked about on the podcast a few months ago. Tom and I called them, boom, deal is done, money's in, we're happy. But it's an investment. I'm not looking for it as influence. Do you think they're just sitting there saying, we want to put some money there and diversify 24 billion because we think in the next 10 years that 24 billion is going to be $100 billion? Or do you think they're putting 24 billion saying, hey man, you better make us look good as well sometimes. Don't be too harsh on us. Don't be too harsh on Qatar, Saudi, and Abu Dhabi.
Well, it's a little bit of both, because if you look at it from, this perspective of who's actually running the Middle East, this article was written by CNBC, conveniently left out who's arguably the undisputed champion of the Middle East when it comes to Silicon Valley, which is Israel. All these other countries, whether it's Saudi, whether it's the UAE, whether it's, you mentioned Kuwait, whether it's any of these Middle East and Gulf countries, they have their number one only export is oil and gas. That's it. That's all they got. What Israel is doing is actually building technology, water. You mentioned water. What Israel's doing with water and desalinating water is going to save the Middle East and a lot of countries. Talk about peace deals. A lot of these deals are going to be framed. We need water because we're in the freaking desert, and we're all thirsty as hell, and we're going to need Israel. So a lot of these countries are going to have to use this for survival and forget their jihadi tendencies. So as far as diversification, you can't just rely on oil, because in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, how much the world is going to run on oil? Significantly less, right? Going green technology. So they're diversifying. The other component is, yes, they do want to modernize. They want to enter the modern world. They don't want to be left in the Middle Ages or the Stone Ages when Muhammad was running around. They need to step into the middle, into the modern world and compete. So a lot of these countries, their only foundation is oil, and they need to diversify and have other things going on.
Tom.
So, well, I appreciate the segue to Israel, but to focus on just these investors here coming on a Netflix deal, there's a little of both going on. They got into F1. There's like 3 races that are out there on the peninsula. Fantastic tracks. A lot of Western people that are there. Incredible hospitality. I've talked to a lot of people that were there. I'd like to go to one. And then you've got what they did with Live Golf, and you see how Doha's being built. We just talked about the housing in Doha. I did more research after the podcast yesterday, and it's only 5 hours from London. So it is a short drive. It takes you less time to get to Doha from Southern Europe, Pat, than it would take us from LA to get to Honolulu. So it's actually a convenient place to go, and it's clean, it's new, it's all kinds of things going on. They are doing 3 things. They've been Westernifying up to a point. Come here, enjoy yourself, bring your dollars. But, you know, on the back end, it's still a Muslim country. They have been, some people called it sport washing. You know, instead of whitewashing, sport washing by investing in all the sport to bring people there. But they've also been investing. This is not their first investment. PIF put a giant amount of money into WeWork. PIF money is in, I believe, in Uber. Very large amount in Uber. Check me on this, before Uber went public. And so, number one, they're increasingly shrewd investors, Pat. But in this case, there is also the opportunity to carry messaging to say, hey, there's nothing wrong with Jeddah. There's nothing wrong with Doha. Come on over here. Enjoy yourself. Be part of it. So if I had to split it, I'm probably thinking I'm going to go 1/3, 2/3. 2/3, it's investment, because at their core, they're pretty astute business people. And 1/3, it absolutely, they'd like to influence perceptions through programming, like product placement. And then they'd also directly like to, you know, influence news.
It also comes down to leadership. Look what MBS is doing in Saudi. I mean, we were at the American Business Forum put on by Mayor Francis Suarez, who we talked about earlier.
With PIF money.
That was all sponsored by the Saudi PIF fund. So they're modernizing, and every country wants 2 things, peace and prosperity. And the Middle East has been ransacked by a lack of peace and a lack of prosperity. So leaders like MBS and the Kingdom of UAE say we need to do what we can to basically have that in our country.
What's Ray Dalio saying here,
So Ray Dalio was talking about capitalism in the Middle East.
Yeah, he's talking about Saudi Arabia and how it's slowly becoming the new Silicon Valley.
Is this what Adam quoted earlier? Is there anything unique in there outside of that, or that's pretty much it?
I think his take is, sorry, Adam, a little bit better.
Whose?
Yeah, Ray Dalio's take's a little bit.
Sorry, Adam.
Play Ray's take.
As you say, I've been coming here for 32 years. So I've watched it evolve from the founder, Sheikh Zayed, to his children. And I think it is the closest thing we get to a paradise in a world that's increasingly in trouble. And they have a great investment management expertise because they have lots of money that they manage for themselves. But when it's coming to money management, that creates a community in which other investment managers come here, and it creates this vibe like a Silicon Valley of investing. So this statement of capital is not just a buzzword, you know, or a slogan. It is that if you want to be in almost the Silicon Valley of investment management, there's an excitement to being here. And it's particularly enhanced by the combination with AI. You know, I would say these are the 2 biggest commitments. We think of Abu Dhabi as being oil, and of course it is. But really now, asset management, because of the amount of assets they have and how they're doing it, and also AI, because of the commitment that they made earlier and now, is creating that kind of vibe. And that's bringing together very interesting people to create a happening environment.
There you go.
I almost asked Ray Dalio what his point was, but I want to refrain from doing anything like that on this.
He's been saying a lot of crazy stuff lately. I don't know how much credibility I give that. Like the stuff he's been saying about China, I don't know. I don't think there's
You're
anything.
questioning Ray Dalio's credibility.
I am. I know that sounds a bit absurd because he's the most successful hedge fund manager of all time. But
what do you think he lacks credibility in?
No, it's just like I know that the Middle East is deeply worried about their dependence on oil, and he's making it sound like they're much more successful in like tech and tourism than.
Well,
it seems
I mean,
like they
listen,
actually are.
it's very simple. How much of his net? How much, Rob? Can you find out how much of Ray Dalio's net worth is tied to China, and is tied to here? He was talking about who?
Middle East,
Saudi and the Middle East. Yeah.
Is he talking Middle East or is he talking specific?
He was being very specific about Abu Dhabi. I've been coming here for 32 years.
That's
I
right.
knew the prince. That's how he started.
So can you say how much of Ray Dalio's net worth is tied to China and Abu Dhabi? How much is he investing into that? Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, how much is he investing into that? Which, by the way, let's see. Because to me, I don't know if I see that as let's zoom in a little bit, $15 billion to Nate McKay. For example, Bridgewater reportedly managed about $7.5 billion in China-specific funds. Okay, but that's his firm. At times, they manage billions of dollars in China. We've always known that. As far as Abu Dhabi, Middle East, Dalio has recently supported initiatives there. Back in a finance center index at NYU Abu Dhabi has spoken positively about the regional potential. Public sources do not break down the net worth tied. The $3 billion figure of Chinese businesses refers to investments in Chinese business, but doesn't necessarily reflect current value. Okay. All right, so, Ray, Tom, what are your thoughts on what Ray just said there?
Well, he started, I cling to, first of all, I'm not Team Dalio one way or the other. And what I heard a guy say, I heard a couple things. Number one, I've been here for a while, and so I know what I'm talking about. I've seen the evolution in the new generation. Number two, he said it's the Silicon Valley. It's not becoming Silicon Valley. He was using Silicon Valley metaphor. It's become a Silicon Valley of money management and investing, which I think is correct. And he says they have a lot of their own money, and so the first thing they do is they've been managing the home team, is what I heard him say, managing their own money. Now, does he have a lot invested there? Well, we don't know, but for Bridgewater to succeed, it probably has to be a global fund. It can't just be an isolationist fund. And so he's probably, being nice to his hosts, because where was he sitting when he said these nice words? And he's probably being nice to some of his investments, because I think there's a zero chance that he has zero invested. And so I think that he's knows what he's talking about. They have managed their money very, very well. They do manage their money first. And yeah, some of the things he says can be a little wonky, but that's what I read from what he said. I didn't see anything that I would say, wait a minute.
Well, let me kind of share something with the audience. The other day I saw something, Rob. If you don't mind pulling up what Kevin Durant has done quietly with his investments. Have you seen this? Kevin Durant, basketball player. Okay, watch this here. Very interesting when you watch some of this stuff on how quietly what he's doing. He invested in, Rob, you are all the way at the end, I believe. You got to go all the way to the front. Is that the first one? Okay, keep going. There you go. Okay. Kevin Durant's investment track record is elite. Watch this. Go to the next one. He invested in WAP Series B in 2017, valued at $100 million. Now it's valued at $3.6 billion. 36x return. Meaning if he would have put $2 million in it, it's now $72 million. Go to the next one. Invested in Robinhood Series D 2018, valued at 5.6. Now it's worth $119 billion. That's 21x. You put $2 million, you have $42 million. Go to the next one.
He was also a voice for Robinhood.
He was a voice for Robinhood. Invested $250 in Acorn Series B in 2018, valued at $150 million. Now valued at $2 billion, 13x return. Keep going. Invested in DraftKings Series D in 2017, valued at $1 billion. Now it's $17 billion, 17x return. Keep going. Is that it, Rob? Okay. Invested $250 in Coinbase Series E in 2018. That's E, valued at $8 billion. Now $75 billion, a 9x return. Keep going. Invested in Postmates Series D in 2017, valued at $170 million. Now was acquired 5 years ago for $2.65 billion, 15x return. Go to the next one. Invested in Overtime Series A in 2018, valued at $40 million. Now it's valued at $800 million. That's a 20x return. So when you hear stories like this, one, I don't know Kevin, but good for him for doing things like this. You need more examples of this in the NBA. But a lot of this stuff that when you hear about stories that he has, you know who else had a story like this? Magic Johnson, who just became a billionaire. When he worked for Jerry Buss, he would always talk about that Jerry, the benefit of playing for Jerry. Jerry was able to do something he can't do it in the NBA anymore. I don't know if you remember this deal, Tom, but I think Jerry gave Magic 5% equity of the Lakers. Can you pull that up, Rob, if he did give him 5% equity of the Lakers? So Jerry sat there with Magic and said, look, I'm not only just going to help you because I'm not going to help you with the game, but I'm going to help you with business. And Magic sat there and said, man, I want to listen to this rich guy, see what he's going to say. Magic's a billionaire today. Guy went from being a basketball player, I believe he was at Michigan State, if I'm not mistaken, Tom.
Yeah.
He goes from that to being, so the commonly number is that Magic got 4.5% stake, reportedly paid about $10 billion for the shares. Johnson later on sold his shares in 2010 to Patrick Soon-Shiong, who's a multi-billionaire and bought the LA Times for, I think, $500 million.
Correct.
That same guy who is trying to help people out with cancer right now. There's very interesting stories with him. He's become a very interesting character. But if you're watching this, the average person, Dan, I'm going to come to you with this one. Say I'm an average guy. I don't make a lot of money. Say I make $80K a year. I make $100K. Okay. I make somewhere between $80 to $250 per year. Okay.
Is that considered average?
Let's just say $80 to $250. Our audience, they're business people. Your average is $50,000, median income $50,000, $70,000. But I'm going to somebody that's doing $80 to $250. What should I be looking for? Where should I be investing my money? I'm not a business owner. I'm either an executive, a manager, somebody that's doing their job right. What should I be looking at with investments for the next 10, 20 years so I have some opportunities like this as well?
Unless you're going to be a full-time investor, meaning you're not going to work at a job, you're just going to do research all the time. I tell people to go and look at the 5 best funds, Fidelity, et cetera, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25-year results, and take a mix of that and put your money in. And I recommend they invest monthly. And so it comes out of your paycheck, et cetera. And then you wake up 10, 20 years later, and you got assuming the country doesn't bust, with a big gob of money. The guys today, if you look at the ads on the television, and at the bottom, if it's trading or if it's derivatives or whatever, it says on the bottom, between 65 and 87% of all these investments don't make money. Nobody reads that part. They just put their money in, and when they wind up losing it, they go to what's that column on the internet that you say bad things about people?
The Valuetainment PBD podcast chat?
No. He's talking about, what is it? Is it X or no? You're not talking X. He's talking about, what is that place that everybody talks?
Bad shit about
Reddit?
You. Reddit.
Yeah.
Then you go on Reddit and say, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
Yeah. By the way, just so you know what you just said, there's a story that came out yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, from Wall Street Journal, okay, to the average person who doesn't put money in 401ks. Watch this. 401ks are minting a generation of moderate millionaires. Steady saving by many Americans and a third consecutive year of big gains for U.S. stocks have swollen account balances as 2025 comes to a close. Many individual investors are finding holiday cheer in statements showing they have crossed $1 million milestone in their 401ks. As of the third quarter, there were 654,000 401k millionaires at just the brokerage you just mentioned earlier, which is what? Fidelity. Mm-hmm. Just Fidelity. Not American funds, not Trans, not any of these guys, just Fidelity, 654 in 401ks, over $1 million, the highest levels in record going back to the early 2000s, around 3.2% more than 3 million accounts tracked by benefits provider. A-Lite had balances above $1 million as of the third quarter, double the figure at the end of 2022. At T. Rowe Price, roughly 2.6% of participants' balances above $1 million and up 1.3% at the end of 2022. That's crazy. In the last 3 years, just at T. Rowe of 401k accounts over $1 million has gone from 1.3% of the accounts to 2.6% of the accounts. It has doubled 100%. For the first time, half of private sector workers are saving in 401ks, which allow workers to invest money directly from their paychecks without subtracting. And it's got a couple other stats here. So it kind of validates what you're talking about to the average guy.
Absolutely. But we're at the top of a bull market. Most of the pundits, myself included, would say that we're overvalued right now and we're going to have a correction. I keep talking about a black swan that's going to happen. And we'll see what those numbers are 2 years into the bear market. Okay, but the idea is to keep it 15, 20 years and not trade it. Most of the guys and the kids that I know are trading, and most traders at the end of their career save 2 or 3, don't make any money. And it's like with Bitcoin, which I'm not in favor of. But when Bitcoin hit 117,000 the first time about 3 years ago, I said I'm not in it, but if I were in it, I'd sell a third, keep 2/3. And it hit in the hundreds of thousands. 2 more times I said, sell a third, keep 2/3. And so now you'd have about an eighth or a sixth of it left, but you'd still have the benefit of that bull market. But most of the kids, they read 2 books on trading, and they think they're traders. And I tell you, or I tell anybody that will listen, there are a lot of books on sex, right? Thousands and thousands. Is any of those books as good as getting laid? The answer is no.
They're not, Dan.
Huh?
They're not.
Okay.
Very, very deep. Very deep.
Very deep.
No pun intended.
Deeper.
But Tom,
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I know you weren't. So, but talking about Bitcoin, you've been critical of Bitcoin before, and in the past, I think you said something about Bitcoin is tied to Russia. CIA is your.
No, I said 7 or 8 years ago. I said there's 2 people that would benefit from the collapse of the financial markets in the U.S. China and Russia.
Benefit from the collapse. Which is true. Yeah.
And after 3 or 4 years ago, China banned it because it was making their economy collapse, not ours. And the fact that a lot of people think some Japanese guy in a cave invented Bitcoin, that's the hand job of all time. I mean, that's so much horse shit that it's unbelievable.
Do you still think it was somebody from China or Russia? Who do you think?
No, not
China. CIA?
China.
Do you think?
Well,
who do you think's behind it?
I
know they say Satoshi Nakamoto in a different language means the CIA.
Well, I do know nothing would have happened in Russia without Putin knowing it. Now, I've trained 6 of the oligarchs in Russia. 6. There's 8. I trained 6 of them. And they've never told me any secrets. I had the son of one of them just at the last seminar in November, okay? I'm now training 2nd generation of these very wealthy guys. And we'll see. I'm not as dogmatic about it as Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. I almost said the late Warren Buffett. I almost slipped. The current Warren Buffett who's just stepping down. But I mean, I would rather, as he says, I would rather have instead of 1% of Bitcoin, I'd rather have 1% of all the farmland in the United States.
Over Bitcoin?
Over Bitcoin, yeah.
So you still don't own any Bitcoin?
No. Now, my wife bought some for our grandchildren. So she manages a small portfolio for our grandkids. And I think her average price is probably $50,000.
Okay. So she bought it a couple years ago.
Yeah, correct.
Got it. But would you advise others to buy Bitcoin today?
No.
You're still advising against it?
No, I'm in cash.
You're in cash. So you're waiting for a fall.
I've been in cash for a long, long time.
Okay.
And and people say, what about inflation? Well, Bunker Hunt told me a long, long time ago when I used to be the partners with the Hunt family, Danny, if you got to worry about inflation, you're not making that fucking money. Okay? He said the same thing about taxes. Of course, he never paid taxes. That's why one of the reasons he went to jail. But it's just if you're worried about taxes, Danny, you're not making enough money.
Is this him? This is Bunker Hunt?
Bunky, my boy. We used to sit in American Airlines. He'd take up 3 seats.
Holy, how big was he?
450.
Stop it.
Yeah, I was part of the silver deal that they got in trouble with.
Yeah. What did he die from?
Heart failure.
Yeah, that's a big boy.
But I used to be able to, I got to fly in his G2 at the time. That was the plane he had, G2. But a reconfigured G2, you know.
Yeah.
But his wife, this is a great story. His wife, Mrs. Hunt, used to pick us up at the Dallas DFW airport. And, you know, if you've been to the DFW, you know, the luggage comes out and goes around a circle. Yes. And so we're in there, 77 Buick. And there's a crack from the lower left-hand front window to the upper right-hand crack. And she says, I'm sorry, Mr. Pena, but Bunky won't let me get it fixed because insurance won't cover it. I said, it doesn't bother me, ma'am. It doesn't bother me. You know, as long as it doesn't shatter in my face, I don't care. And they used to have a transistor radio swinging from the mirror. And there'd be a hollow place where the radio's supposed to go. Because he didn't think the transistor radio added enough value. So the radio in the car didn't add enough value for the extra $140 or $50. I thought I'd never see that again. Well, you know, who had a similar car is the current senator from Florida, Rick Scott, who I trained. He was my lawyer. And I sent him off to found Columbia Healthcare. He had a crack in the window, and he had a transistor radio hanging from the mirror. And I used to say, when it was more vogue, two of the cheapest, well, it sounds awful, white men that I ever knew.
You're just about to get canceled, bro.
Yeah.
He actually takes that as a compliment.
Okay.
Well, you say you call that to Adam. Adam's like celebrating. So true.
Yeah.
White guys.
So,
well,
cheap,
question
but-
for you. So you're not a believer in Bitcoin.
No.
You're a cash guy. Do you have a 401k?
I haven't had a paycheck since January '92.
Okay, so respectfully, nobody's on your level, meaning you
No,
said you're
no,
about to be
people
80.
have more money than I do.
You're about to be, no, I don't mean it like that, meaning you're about to be 80, you said?
I'm 80. I turned 80.
Okay, well, you look great. Great color jacket. But your advice doesn't work for the average person.
No, I know
The
it
average
doesn't. That's
person
why
should
I
follow
certain
what
things.
this
But he
advice
gave
is
the
saying.
average advice.
Yeah.
He gave very good advice to the average guy. When I said 80 to 250, he said find the 5 funds on what they're doing, compare them 5, 10, 15, 25 years, diversify it, and he said put money in a dollar cost averaging, which you're for dollar cost averaging, and then see what that works out. And then that's when I went to Fidelity selling for the first time to have 665,000 401k accounts, over $1 million. But go ahead.
Well, for me, you know, I always say more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
The reason that I'm a 401k millionaire is because someone that I worked with was teaching me about a 401k. It happened in 2008. He goes, how much did you lose in the market? I go, I don't have any money in the market. He goes, well, now's a great time to maybe start investing. And I was like, okay. I couldn't even spell 401k at the time. And now 2008, almost 17 years later, boom, you have a 401k millionaire. The reality is most people don't think 401ks are sexy. The reality is most people, they're going to need a 401k to retire with money. So unless you want to get house rich and cash poor, you're going to have to sell your house in order to have money.
If you're with a company that matches
for sure
4%, 100% of your 401k, at least put in the match
I agree.
to get that money.
I agree.
If you're not, that's double dumb. Okay, like you said, if you're not a day trader where you're studying all this stuff, not the guys that you talk about that read 2 books and think they're traders. If you're not and you're getting 100% match, go do it.
Yes.
Take advantage of it.
Well,
Mario started putting stuff in his 401k, just a few years ago. The other day, I'm asking him, how much you got in your 401k? He says, Pat, you won't believe how much. I said, what do you have? He gives, I'm like, you got to be kidding. He says, no, Pat. I'm like, are you? He says, I can't even believe it. I haven't checked it for a minute. I said, but that's the benefit of the match. If you're not getting a match, don't do it.
And
if you are getting the match, double down.
Yeah, and then if you're not getting a match, you might want to consider Roth IRA. One thing I just want to say, because obviously you and I are NBA experts over here, Kevin Durant, if you go back to what we were talking about with that, being an investor, you notice that all those investments happened after he left Oklahoma City and went to Oklahoma and went to Golden State.
Yeah.
So this started around 2016, 2017, 2018. You know, they say that, like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You show up from OKC, by the way, #1 team in the league right now, to Golden State with Steph Curry. You become the 2-time NBA champion. And all of a sudden, you're blocks away from Silicon Valley. Opportunities are going to come your way. So you said they invested in X, Y, and Z, all these companies. So location is not just in real estate, but it's also investing. Look who's in his ear. Andre Iguodala is one of the most famous, 6 men of all time. He's not an NBA Hall of Famer, arguably, but he's an NBA Hall of Fame investor because he played for Golden State and basically changed his framework of his career. And now he's a multi-millionaire outside of basketball.
Point. You're one amazing voice in your ear from changing your life. Who was that for you when you were younger, by the way? You are that to a lot of people. Who
Konstantin Gratzos, the CEO of NASA Shipping, the right-hand man of Aristotle Onassis for 60 years.
Wow.
Onassis was, to me, one of the most. He was my mother's favorite guy. But Onassis, if you've never read the book on this guy, do you know this guy marries Jackie Kennedy? And you know what they put in place? For every year she's married to him, he gave her $10 million. After being together for 5 or 6 years, you can correct me on this, Onassis. They get a divorce. I think they separate or something happens. And she's like, you need to give me XYZ amount of money. He says, no, that $10 million, I gave you more than that every year with the amount of money you spend. You're getting nothing from me. Gave her nothing. If you've never read the book on Onassis, he is one of the most underrated names for the younger generation that you don't know about. This guy was a G, but please.
I just got to Onassis after he died, and Mr. Gratzos took over, Konstantin Gratzos. He lived at #1 Champs-Élysées was his address. My wife and I in
Wow.
recent years have gone back to one. Now it doesn't. He lived in the attic with the rats, but he said he always had a tan, so he put aluminum foil around his neck like this.
This was Onassis or Constantine?
No, Onassis. He wanted people to think he was either on a boat, a tennis court, or a golf course. So he always had a tan, and he always spent more money than he made, which is quite easy for my wife to do. It's a little harder for me to do.
Well, what did you learn from Constantine? What did he teach you as a young man?
Onassis Shipping had 107 ships. This is when I was there. All a Panamanian registry, all paid for, no debt. Onassis, and they had the Olympic Towers, the building, and he said, we used to own Olympic airlines. We gave the airlines back to the country because we couldn't figure out how to run an airline and make money at it. The Onassis Towers was 40% full and 60% empty when I was in it. And I used to use Christine Onassis' office that looked down Fifth Avenue at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And he said that the two biggest levers you have in life are other people and other people's money.
OPM,
AM.
yeah. Onassis, An Extravagant Life is the book. If you've never, just buy the audiobook, folks. Go buy it, listen to it. Life-changing. You will be entertained. Onassis was extremely strange, unique, psycho-competitor. The level of psycho-competitor this guy was. And, you know, right around 45 years old, he started having bladder problems. I know another guy at 45 years old started having bladder problems, Adam Sosnick. This is like 6 podcasts in, or he stepped away. By the way, I don't know if Onassis had bladder problems at 45. I know this guy.
But this guy does. He drinks
By the
a
way,
lot of water.
Can we put a garshok for this guy? To
We're
all
gonna
the
need it.
Armenians that listen, can you
Thank
please
you.
send him a garshok right down here so he
PBD,
can
I already
no longer-
have multiple garshoks. Thanks to the fans out there
All
sending
right,
me.
so let's
Gar-
have
do you
they
know what a
actually send you garshoks?
Of course. Do you know what a garshok is?
No.
We're going to send you one. Don't worry.
Garshok in Russian, Armenian is little potty. Like, you know how kids used to sit on those little garshoks?
Little potty.
I think Adam needs a garshok. Maybe like a save that money garshok. But let me get to the next
Adam,
story.
you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Urine's the problem.
I'm going to get into the next story here I want to get to. So this next story, maybe it doesn't have to do with economy. Maybe it does. Being hot is now a job requirement. Okay?
How do you think I got this job, Pat?
So in the age of Ozempic and micro lifts, the pretty privilege gap is growing. Emily Reynolds runs a PR company. And with that responsibility comes the pressure to look young, she tells me. She's 44, but often passes as younger. Rob, can we see what she looks like? She often passes as younger, and that's by design. Reynolds has tried Botox, filler laser facials, hydrofacials, and invests in expensive skincare products. She has a Peloton and does intense workouts. This LaBerry's boot camp. She's walking the precarious line, and she tells me between looking mature enough to show she's an experienced professional who can run and mentor her team and young enough to be relevant, even as she thinks critically about beauty standards imposed on women. Reynolds worries about what would happen to her business and professional reputation if she abandoned her rituals and routines, and what's going to happen as she continues to age. How long will I be, quote unquote, publicly relevant, perceived as attractive, Reynolds says. And when I'm not, what happens to me professionally? That's the thing I think about daily. What a thing to be thinking about daily with that. Do you think it's extremely important to be hot? And if it's a job requirement today, meaning the better you look, the more likely it is that you're going to get the job. Dan, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Absolutely it is.
Yes.
Okay, so
it's not. It's no coincidence that the former personal assistant to Gates, Jobs when he was alive, and more recently Elon is the same woman. She's written a book, and how she set up to go after Jobs first, and then Gates, and then Elon. She didn't have any kids with Elon because Elon likes to have a lot of kids, but not with her. And most of the top assistants, female, I'm talking about, to the big Wall Street guys are all good looking. There's no old hags, that look like Volkswagens.
do you think it helps? Do you think it helps guys as well, or to guys it doesn't matter whether they're good looking or not to make money? Does it help to be good looking, to be in shape in business for men?
Depends. My Hall of Fame doesn't have one six-pack on it. I've got 145 or 50 guys. 2 girls.
Not one six-pack.
Not one. Not one. I've got some guys that take steroids and have big muscles, but no 6-pack.
Got it. Adam, what do you think about this?
The question is what? This lady? Give me the question.
Yeah, the question is, how important is it to look good? Does it help you advance in your career?
Hell yeah, it does. You think I know anything about anything? I'm just good looking. No, the reality is this.
A lot of people may, I'm reading the comment section, Adam.
Very ugly.
No, that's not about very ugly. They're worried about you having to use a bathroom every
I'm drinking
single
a lot of water,
podcast.
but my voice sounds good. Here's the reality. There is something called pretty privilege, and it affects women way more than it affects men. So women have to understand this, that inner beauty and outer beauty is completely different. Outer beauty will get you in the door anywhere, but inner beauty will keep you in the house or keep you in a job or keep you employed. So there's a lot of hot girls relying on pretty privilege these days, but that only goes so far. So what's your character? What's your DNA? What's your values? What's your principles? Just being hot will not keep you there long enough. You need to do more than that. Now, as far as a man, for a man to have status, you have multiple factors that you can rely on other than looks. Looks, if you ask women, are not even the number one thing. It's status, it's money, it's your game, so to speak. Are you funny? Are you humorous? Are you bombastic? Do you got a swag? Do you have a castle? You got a castle. Doesn't matter if you're a couple pounds overweight. So the reality is, I don't even know if this chick's married. And not that it matters per se, but if she is not married, you may want to take a step back from your career and focus on family and kids before it's too late.
Who is this girl anyways, Rob?
Is she supposed to be hot?
I don't know, Dan. I don't know.
Is this
but
the girl?
She seems pretty accomplished. Yes, that's her.
Can you go to another one that says Emily Roberts?
Emily Reynolds.
Is it Roberts or Reynolds? Reynolds. No relation to Ryan.
No.
Okay. Tom, where are you at with this?
So I believe that there is something to coming into an interview and looking sharp.
Okay.
Looking sharp. But I'll tell you, the further along I've been in my career, the more I've looked at it. What can you do? When can you do it? And who can I call to confirm it?
I thought you were going to say, who can you do? I was like, Tom,
no.
what can you do? When can you do?
No,
Who can you do?
I meant,
Tom,
literally,
people have
Tom,
families.
Sir Dan Pena here, you're gonna say things like this, please.
That's it. Now, if you come in looking disheveled, that makes a difference. But if you come in looking sharp, you don't have to be handsome or particularly beautiful by like modeling standards. You just need to be sharp and put together like you take care of yourself. I'll tell you, there is a bias, and it is a factual bias, and no one's going to want to hear this, and this is not fat shaming, but people that are incredibly overweight, there is a perception about employers, are you taking care of yourself? And if you care enough to take care of yourself, will you care enough to take care of the job that I'm hiring you for? And what's going on here? So there is that bias, but you don't have to look like a model. You have to come in and say, this is my background. This is what I've accomplished. This is what I'm capable of. Here's my references. I'm ready to go. And I think that's the attitude. Now, younger people, do women that are more beautiful get hired into, a role like an assistant or like this? Sure. I'd be a fool to say that doesn't happen. But for the broad spectrum, we're looking for people to get the job done, not to surround ourselves with everybody we work out with at Equinox.
Okay. All right. So to me, I think when it comes down to this, you have to, I used to work at Bally's, and when I would work at Bally's, guys would come in, and, I would have some fun with them, but I would also, it was 50% fun, 50% serious. I would have them stand up. I'm like, okay, so are you single? I am. When's the last time you had a steady relationship? Not in a while. Do you own a gym membership? Obviously, I don't. Okay, you look at me like, I said, look, man, what are you going to do to make this work? Okay. So then I'm like, listen, can I just talk to you openly? Yes. I said, stop trying to grow a beard. You don't have one. It doesn't look good. You either have it, do it. You don't have it, you don't have it. Don't do it. All right. Number 2, what is this hairdo you got here? What is this all about? Like, what are you doing with this hairdo? I said, we got to get rid of this hairdo. It's a pretty shitty hairdo. We got to fix this thing here, right? It's not going to work. Go to somebody, and I would introduce him to one of my guys. Go get a nicer haircut. This is embarrassing. You can't go around looking like this. No girl's going to want to date you. And if she does, I would question her integrity, like what she's doing this for. Then it's the way you dress. Tell me how you dress. Tell me what you're wearing. What is unique about your brand? When you walk into a room, what's going to be different about you? What do you dress that's just different than everybody else? What do you do? Okay, great. Here's what I do. Working out, energy. Do you smile? Do you take care of yourself? And I think this is like even when we licensed 60,000 insurance agents in 50 states, so I had a lot of younger guys that would come in. And I've had many conversations where I would sit down and I had a kid. I would say, first of all, you smell horrible, okay? So hygiene is extremely critical. If you can't figure out your hygiene, I don't know if you realize or not, it's hard to be around you. And stop talking to me like this. Hi, Patrick. You smell. Fix your breath. Have people tell you if you have your breath. Have one of these, what do you call these mint things that you put in, but that's a shortcut as well. Floss 2-3 times a day. Have these flossing stuff that the stuff gets out of your teeth because that's what smells bad. As you get older, you got to take care of this stuff, and you got to figure out what you got to do for your breath to smell better. Hygiene. Blow dry yourself after a shower. Okay? Blow dry any area that sweat stays there. Just don't burn your private parts, but blow dry yourself, right?
Blow dryer, not curling iron.
I'm actually being that serious with you. Blow dry yourself. Blow dry between your toes on your feet. That's what makes your feet smell because it's nasty. Blow dry it after you get, because it's wet, yeast, stuff stays in there. And then it's like, use this deodorant, try this shampoo, try this Axe, take a shower, do it this way. And then eventually, 3-6 months later, they smell better. Give them a cologne. Hey, start off with this Perry Ellis, this 112 cologne, this Jupe cologne, whatever the old school clones were, not the, Creed clones. You're not going to go around handing Creed or Stefano colones to people, but maybe
not
start with a couple of
cool waters.
No, but I'm just being very honest with you. And then eventually you're like, all right, so look what you look like. You smell better, you look better, you're taking care, and then you see the confidence, and then all of a sudden they're walking like this. You've been doing this your entire life to younger guys, and you're like, all right, now he's got a girlfriend. Now he walks in a different way. Now he's got a little bit of a swagger. Now he's got self-worth. Now he's got some money in the bank. Now he's got some, and then good things start happening. But I think the comment, Tom, that you made, I think it's extremely right because Tom's message applies to 90% of people. Mm-hmm. If you're handsome, you're good looking, you know what you can do many times? You can have shitty hair. Okay? You cannot fix everything on your hair, your face. And there's these people that they wake up and they look good.
Look at Rob.
To that 1% of the world. But to everybody else, I think it is important. I think it works. And Dan, I'm going to give you your final thoughts on this year.
You have 2 times to make a first impression. One, when you walk in the door, she walks in the door. The next is when you open your big mouth. Okay? A lot of people can pass the look test.
Good point.
But then they stick their foot in their mouth. And so communication skills are paramount. And the current generation, actually the last 2 generations, have piss poor communication skills.
Bill Ackman, worth $9.2 billion, the other day gave a tip to people on X and it went viral. He said, here's a tip to young men. When you want to ask a girl out, ask her, may I meet you? Okay? And the amount of people that tried to troll him for saying, may I meet you, was nonstop. He got trolled nonstop all day. What is your line? If that's what Ackman says, what would Dan Pena say?
As a single man or an 80-year-old man?
No, single. As an 80-year-old, you can get away with anything, but as a single man.
Okay, your place or mine?
That's what you, really? That's the opening.
In the early
She's like,
70s
I live in a one-bedroom. He's like,
Manhattan.
I'm in a castle, so
Okay, your place or mine?
Come meet me at my crib.
Which do you, Rob,
Do you like castles?
Can you run a poll? Which do you prefer? May I meet you or put your place or mine? Run a poll.
Go with Dan Pena
Fellas,
on this.
ladies, which one? Let's see what's going to happen here.
Can you pull my picture of my wife and I that is on our...
He'll find it.
Okay,
he will find it. Rob, start that poll. I'm curious, folks. Start voting.
So when did that line start working? When did that line start working?
When I was 21.
Once I had a castle.
Once you had a Rolls.
No.
No, hang on. Once you had a...
I had a Rolls when I was 24. So
okay.
when I was a commissioned officer, a young guy at NATO, I mean, your place or mine. And actually, I got it from a woman asked me during a lunch break, what your place or mine. And so
She asked you.
Oh, and you were that's when you were working in NATO?
Yeah.
That was that nice Russian woman that said, tell me all about your job.
Which picture is it, by the way? Is there a picture, Rob?
The one...
Younger picture of...
No. Can you go to my website? But wait, stop. See those pictures on the right? That's my wife last year, and that's my wife 30 years ago.
All the way to the right?
The one there, those 2. 30 years ago, last year.
Wow.
Rocking the same vibe.
Well,
Good for her.
she used to be a big sailor. She was winning that race across the Atlantic.
Yeah, that's serious. She's wearing a sailing harness. That's like big time sailing.
Yeah, she is. Well, she was a big time sailor, but she looks the same.
That's when the boat's up at 44 degrees and
Yeah.
you're just
Can I add one
leaning
thing?
into the wind.
You can add one thing.
Okay, I'm just imagining, the guy walks into Bally's for the first time, and he's
And Bally's is that a
This
gym?
is
or
Back
a
in the
bar?
days, Bally Total Fitness.
That's
I don't know if you
right.
remember.
That's what PBD was doing.
Nautilus, Bally's.
I'm just imagining the guy walks into.
Your place
I
or mine
agree.
is winning.
That's swag right
May
there.
I meet you? Your place or mine? It's close. It's close. That's 1,400 people just voted in the last minute.
Almost as close as my
All
poll
right.
the other day to like or hate it.
Adam.
Can I meet you? Is woke.
May I meet you is
Yeah.
woke. I
Meet
got
me
you.
here is
May
what
I
should
meet you is
say.
woke. Your place or mine?
And I know Fortune 50 CEOs that you know the names that they can make it vulgar, more vulgar than your place or mine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that's just.
Let's not go there because then we're going to trigger Tom and then. Well, the thing
Pigs.
that I was going to say.
Some men are pigs, man. Some men are pigs.
I know, but they've been pigs since caveman.
That's exactly right. When
That's
they
right.
bonked her on the head and dragged her back.
Exactly. I should have lived then.
Bonk. Dunk.
Don't.
All right.
What I was going to say is this: like, I could just picture the guy that walks into Bally's and Pat walks in and goes, "You're fat. You smell. Your hair's all messed up. Your
You'd
hygiene.
be amazed how many of
Clean
these
it
guys
up."
came back being thankful.
But that's my point: is
Yeah.
that they're open to feedback
Yeah.
and they're coachable. That's the one thing I've noticed between certain men and not certain men, and certainly between men and women.
Yeah.
Is that men are more comfortable being offended. Our guys will tell each other, "We bust balls, bro. You're fat. You're gross. Clean it up." And it's like, "All right, cool. I will." Women can't say to each other. That's why they're all 10s. Okay? Oh, how do I look? I'm a 10. I'm a 10. I'm a 10. Women don't want to be offended. For a man, you need to be comfortable being offended. And people, you need to be told, "You're fat, you're sloppy, clean it up, you're a loser." Don't end up being a loser. That's how you motivate young men. That's a different how you motivate young women.
Men are willing to engage in self-deprecation, and women aren't.
I've seen, not that we need to rehash this, some of the things you've said online. It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
But you say, "F you, clean it up, stop being and that's how men actually receive feedback, right? Like if you've had a football coach or a basketball coach or a drill sergeant, they go, "Get down, mother," and you do it. Women don't respond to that. You can't go to a girl and say, "You're fat, you're ugly, you're overweight, clean it up." They're going to start crying in the corner. For a guy, that's going to make or break. If you say that to a guy and they clean it up, that means they're resilient. If they start crying in the corner, then they're weak and they'll probably never get laid anyway.
Forbes magazine put out a survey last year that 80% of employees throughout the United States of America cry at least one time a week.
80% of
employees from below the chairman and CEO, the C-suite, I guess they call it,
Cry.
And so I asked my two kids to work for big companies, and my daughter, who's 39 now, she was 38 then. She says, "More than once a week, Dad." And it's mostly men cry at work.
Yeah.
That's where we are.
Well, I don't want to say this publicly, but last week I saw Adam in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
This happens routinely on Fridays. He was crying.
That's correct.
It's normally it's Wednesdays because it's like, Brandon. And I'm like, Adam. So, but normally, honestly, like the solution, one good hug wraps it up.
Thank you.
Right?
Or a pow-pow. Either way, I suck it up.
No, but obviously that's a joke. But the point I'm trying to the point of what you're saying here is taking the feedback from somebody that's giving you straight up. Let's do the last one before we wrap up. We got 4 minutes for this one. Okay, home delistings surge as sellers struggle to get their price. This isn't good. They're trying to sell. No one's willing to pay the price. The realtor comes and says, "Let's take it off because it shows that it's been for sale for 328 days, and let's start it all over again." Here's what CNBC had to say about it. Go for it, Rob.
Housing market, but this year could be worse than expected as sellers seem to be giving up. Diana Olick joins us to explain why. Diana.
Hey, Mike, when a seller takes their home off the market, it's called a delisting, and they're now happening at an unusually high rate. Delistings in October, which are reported with a 1-month lag, were up 45.5% year to date and up nearly 38% from October of last year. That, according to a new report from Realtor.com. Now, this is the highest delisting year since they began tracking in 2022. Delistings began to rise in June and have remained elevated for 5 straight months. About 6% of active listings have been coming off the market each month, which is typically something you only see in the dead of winter. All right, so why is it happening? Uncertainty in the economy, stagnant and high mortgage rates, and of course, a still pricey market. Locally, Miami, Denver, and Houston are seeing the highest ratio of delistings compared with new listings. Those are also markets that saw some of the biggest price gains in recent years. And in addition, and because of that, more potential buyers are now heading to what Realtor.com calls refuge markets, more affordable markets. Grand Rapids, St. Louis, Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh are all seeing much bigger price gains now than the rest of the country because demand there is suddenly surging. Now, later today, we do get earnings from luxury home builder Toll Brothers. We haven't had any government data on the home builders since before the shutdown, but Toll has been outperforming simply because its buyers are less reliant on mortgage rates. Now, they did guide to lower home deliveries. We'll see how much lower when we get those results this afternoon.
Okay, Tom, what's going on here?
What's going on is they said delistings, this is the highest it's been since they started measuring it. What happens with delistings, when people finally decide to sell, they're usually selling into a roll-up market. They're seeing prices roll up around them. They're seeing prices go up. Honey, maybe it's time to, sell the house and buy something smaller, or maybe now's the time to, move across town to something bigger. Well, what happens with delistings? Delistings is what happens. Delistings increase, which tells the market observers that the peak of the market prices in the current point may be upon us, Pat. When prices peak, delistings happen. What it says is that guess what? There's now prices may be starting to go down a bit. So number one, you see, are we seeing the delistings as a signal we may be at the top of market and prices are now going to moderate, go down a little bit? And remember, these prices have run up for a while, so it's not like these are going to drop below mortgage value like the great financial crash in 2008, 2009. So, but this is a sign. Now, what do we also see? 2 weird stats. Number one, the layoffs have increased over the summer. From July to now, layoffs have increased, but job openings have also increased, which might mean that we don't have the people in the right places or the right skills for the right jobs, because you have layoffs on one hand and then you have job openings on the other. But this, I believe, is a sign that in these peak markets, we're about to see pricing start going down. Because I put it up saying, hey, honey, it was $1 million. Let's put up at $1,050,000, see if we get any takers, because things have been up around us. But what if the real market for your house is really $975,000 right now? Because it's peaked a little bit. Well, then the realtor says, look, we don't want to go drop, because people will price under you. They'll think maybe you have to move somewhere for a job, and there's some psychology in buying. Let's just do this. Take a breather, and then we'll put it back out at $980 and go get your $975. There's strategy to it as well.
Dan, what feedback do you have to say for people that are not homeowners or homeowners? To homeowners, do I sell or do I keep? 2, if I want to buy, is this a good time to buy? Do I wait? What do I do?
If the house is a house that you're living in as opposed to an investment, if it's an investment, I think the market's going to go lower. So, I mean, depending on, can you be without a home or without a real estate piece of property, without a fourplex, et cetera, I'd sell. But if it's your house, I just write out the market. I mean, your home, I just write out the market.
The common sense.
Yeah.
You want a house, family, somewhere to live in, you're going to be there long-term, 5-10 years, just go buy, do your thing. Okay, Adam. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, of course. Is it a lifestyle thing? Is it an investment thing? Or is it something for your family? Those are 3 different things. I've said this before. I'll say it again. The best investment you can make is into yourself, is into your business, then assets like the stock market or Bitcoin, and then housing. Housing is a lifestyle thing. Yes, if you wait it out 5-10 years, you can make money on your house. Of course. Nobody's denying that. But is it the best investment? In my opinion, no. And for the matter for young people, it's taking longer and longer and longer for all of life's milestones. Buying a house, having kids, getting married, it's all taking almost 10 years longer than it was a generation ago. The average home buyer right now is 40 years old. A generation ago, the average home buyer was 28. So things are taking longer. Good things take time. Play the long game.
Brandon.
Yeah, we gotta stop acting like the owning a home is the number one asset for somebody in their life, like it's like a retirement vehicle or it's like their end all be all. Because like it would be good for the most people if home prices went down. Like that is what should happen if we build more houses. So people are acting like it's gonna be a national crisis if home prices go down because that like psychology has been built in. But that's like a bad way to think about it.
Yeah, I think there are certain markets that are going to be impacted more. Certain markets are not. I suggest looking, if you're comfortable moving, look into red cities, red states, pro-business, pro-friendly, no income tax, a place that others are going to move to. If it's in places that is blue state, the other day I saw a clip of Gavin Newsom with Charlie Kirk, and he talked about how, hey, we have, and then Charlie kept saying, we got the fifth largest economy in the world. And then Newsom says, I'm glad you know that. He says, but you've been losing a lot of people. He says, not last year. We got people coming in. He says, but the way you got people coming in last year was some illegal immigration. And Newsom was stuck. He didn't know what to say. So if you take blue states, people are leaving a lot of these blue state, high regulation, slow speed on permits, and they're going to low regulation, red state with no taxes. Position yourself better where people are going to go there. Not only a place to raise your kids, not only a place where business is going to be attracted to go. If you go there, people are going to keep going there next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And guess what supply and demand says? You're going to be fine with the property you buy. Anyways, last call here. Then if you haven't been to his website, go visit his site. We're going to put it below Rob with all the details on his QLA program. Dan, it's great to finally have you here. We had a great conversation. You're a very, very interesting man.
Thank you very much. All my stuff's free. I don't sell anything. So just...
There you go. Go to, and what's the website called? It's called danpena.co.uk.
Yeah.
We will put the link below. All stuff is free on his website. You can go pick it up and learn. God bless everybody. We will do this again next week. We don't have a podcast Friday because of business planning workshop, but we will have it next Monday. But we do have a podcast that's going out tomorrow,
An
Rob,
interview going out tomorrow.
with a very interesting Rick Allen Ross, who's a deprogrammer of people that join cults. You have to watch it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.